It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. Lots to talk about with our panelists. Brianna Wu, she's running for Congress in Massachusetts. Paris Martineau, she writes at Wired. And Seth Weintraub, he's the founder of 9 to 5, Google, Mac, and Electric. We'll talk about the coronavirus craziness. Baby Yoda toys may be delayed. We'll also talk about Apple and push notifications. Apparently, they're changing their tune. And amazingly enough, the music industry, it's healthier than it's been in years. It's all coming up next on Twit. This Week in Tech comes to you from Twit's LastPass Studios. You're focused on security, but are your employees? LastPass can ensure they are by making access and authentication seamless. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit, This Week in Tech, episode 761, recorded Sunday, March 8th, 2020, the Esperanto of time. This episode of This Week in Tech is brought to you by Health IQ. Health IQ uses science and data to secure lower life insurance rates for healthy people like you. To see if you qualify, go to healthiq.com/twit and take the Health IQ quiz. It could help save you up to 41% on your life insurance premiums compared to other providers. And by Stamps.com. Anything you can do at the post office, you can do at Stamps.com. Their on-demand postage means you can skip that trip for a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale without any long-term commitment. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and enter the code TWIT. And by FreshBooks. You know, you can be confident when tax time rolls around with FreshBooks because they make filing a walk in the park. Try it free for 30 days at freshbooks.com/twit. And by Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage. Thinking about moving your data storage to the cloud? Wasabi is enterprise-class cloud storage at 1/5 the price of Amazon S3 and faster than the competition, with no fees for egress or API requests and no complex storage tiers. Your business may be unpredictable, but your data costs shouldn't be. Start a free trial at wasabi.com and enter the code TWIT. It's time for Twit, This Week in Tech, the show where we cover the week's tech news with this fabulous panel. Brianna Wu is here in the middle of a stump speech. She's running for Congress in the Massachusetts 8th. When's Election Day?
It is September 1st. So we are working right now to get on the ballot. On the very first day we were out there working, we got about half the signatures we needed. So it's going amazing.
Oh, that's great.
And we're also opening up our second office next week, so I'm very excited about that.
And the nice thing about running for Congress is you can paper your walls with campaign signs.
That's true. That's true.
What happened to your beautiful American flag?
I have some TV stuff later today, and we were redoing the office, so I thought this would look interesting.
You have a TV stuff right now. Thank you, Brianna. I'm
Yes.
thrilled to have you on, as always. Also joining us, he was the creator of 9 to 5 Mac. He also is the editor-in-chief at Electric. It is Seth Weintraub. Great to have you with us.
Great to be back.
Yay! He's in the attic. You got stuck in the attic today.
How'd you know? Oh, the low ceilings.
Yeah, I could tell. I'm an expert.
Yeah.
But I thought that Paris Martineau is also joining us from her home. I thought she was in her home office. She's a staff writer at Wired, but she says this is her mid-century living room.
Yeah,
Hi,
two very
Paris.
different things. Hi, guys. Always great to be here.
Great to have you. This is the crew, the social distancing crew. I'll tell you what, we're all very good at this. Well, we were just looking at the XKCD article. You started it, I think, Brianna, by saying you've been preparing your whole life for this.
It's true.
That's exactly.
I'm really worried, though, because my whole job is going out to large crowds now. And, I'm really scared. I was talking to people yesterday. Every guy I talked to, I said, let's just do the coronavirus elbow bump. And that's what I did all day.
Do you still have people showing up? Because I would think.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because
Yes.
I would think this is going to get harder and harder. Here it is, yesterday's XKCD called Self-Isolate. Guy sitting and looking at a TV. Experts are saying people may need to self-isolate to combat the virus. He sits there. I've been practicing for this moment my whole life. I don't think that's quick. Make plans. Watch how fast I cancel. I think there are a lot of us geeks who are finally going to have enough TV time, enough time to play with my Raspberry Pi. Anyway, I should mention, we are closing our studio for the time being. So if you had tickets to come see us, I apologize. But we really, in respect to the staff, as much as anything, I want to make sure that they stay healthy. So we won't have studio audiences. And I suspect we will only have people via Skype sitting around the table just to protect. Although I was in St. Louis this week. I actually got in an airplane, flew to St. Louis, did an event at our sponsor, Worldwide Tech's facility, beautiful facility, and then flew back. And I'm still here.
What will your temperature be in 14 days, though, Leo?
Yeah, that's the question. Good news. The Pope is okay. Italy is, although he's not in Lombardi, which is, I think, the region that is most affected, but he is testing negative for coronavirus, according to Italy. We've also talked to Father Robert Balaser, who is at the Vatican, and he's okay, too. So, actually, it would be a serious thing for the Pope. He's 83 years old. He had part of a lung removed several decades ago. And he has actually started to cancel audiences. Not just papal audiences, conferences being canceled, including, bit of a shock, South by Southwest.
First time in 34 years.
Well, it's hard to think of another reason why they would cancel it, to be honest with you. I mean, that's not...
I don't know. Some conferences, they take a year off because something happens.
Yeah. And I got the impression from the cancellation that South by didn't want to cancel. They really waited to the last
Oh, yeah.
moment.
It was a very passive-aggressive kind of cancellation message. It was like, we really didn't want to do this. We didn't make the decision. The city said we didn't have to, but then, they said we should probably do it.
Oh, so the city... I thought Austin made them do it. So the city said...
That's the thing. Austin made them do it is essentially what they'd said towards the end of it. But it was a strange message because I think it began by saying, just as early as like last week, the city had said we were going to be fine. Everything was good. But now the city is saying we have to do this. It's public security and health risk, which clearly.
Yeah, and it didn't help that Facebook, Twitter, Netflix, BMI, the music company, because there's a music festival too, and Apple had all pulled out. Yep. Not going to be much of an event without all of that.
Yeah, that's probably the real reason.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than to have a conference and just nobody's there. There's no booths. There's no panels. That would look almost even worse. But I have to feel for the people in Austin.
Yeah, I mean, so many people local business owners and whatnot. This is where you make all of your money for the whole year in Austin. Yeah. It's going to be devastating for everyone who is counting on revenue. Yep.
We've got, I have friends of mine that have TV shows that, and documentaries down there that they are really trying to get sold. So, I kind of fear talking about this in terms of, a financial damage to people, but it's very real and not just to corporations. I mean,
why would you
individuals that I know?
You feel if you talk about the economic consequences, you're downplaying the health consequences?
I just think I want to be very careful and say it's people's health first, people's lives first. That's the top priority here. Yeah. But this is clearly another important thing to talk about.
Well, you're being politic, but it is really bad podcast advertising is disappearing. Movies, the James Bond movie.
What will we ever do? Having to wait 6 months.
Come
for
on, that's a big deal. They was going to come out this spring. They've deferred it to November. Now somebody said it's because of the title, which is something like.
I think it's because
it's a good day to sicken. A good day to sicken and die, or something.
Nowadays, a large part of your revenue is going to be coming from audiences in China. And if no one in China is being allowed to leave their homes and go congregate in public space with other people, why would you release your movie when half of your revenue is not going to be there?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's serious. That's nothing to be sneezed at, if you forgive it.
We're saying all these things, but public health is first.
Yeah.
That's a given.
Yeah. At the same time, I think there's some benefits. Apparently, lobster prices are dropping in Massachusetts.
I saw that. I live here. I can get lobster whenever I want, so I wasn't very excited by that
Flights are really
story.
cheap.
What's
Say
that?
what?
I've seen a lot of people tweeting about how flights are really cheap right now.
Hotels are very cheap right now.
Yep.
Especially in
Good time to-
Austin.
Yep.
No, I don't mean to make light of it because it is. You're right. Absolutely, Brianna. It's a serious health issue. Although there are a lot of people who also think it's being overblown. I had somebody call the radio show yesterday who said, it's just the news media. It's a sensationalistic story. They're just overblowing it. And I said, "Oh, are you a physician?" He said, "No, I'm a piano tuner."
Of course, yeah.
So apparently the piano tuner
constituency may be bad
constituency.
at math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it something to be worried about? I think so. Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the best way, the way that I've kind of explained it, because my father called me the other week kind of saying the same thing. And I was like, oh, no. I mean, I understand that for most healthy kind of young people, let's say if you got coronavirus right now, you'd probably come out of it fine. You wouldn't need hospital assistance, hopefully. But for any immunocompromised people or people who are more elderly, it's going to be a serious health challenge. And it's kind of as if we are in a world where, let's say, the flu didn't exist and the flu for the first time was making its rounds. Sure.
Yes, it's kind of like that, isn't it?
In a world where the flu does exist and it's a sad but just reality of our lives.
Yeah.
If we are in a state currently where we can prevent another flu from being a regular occurrence year in, year out, and having that many people die and suffer health complications, why wouldn't we do everything to stop that?
Yeah, I think when you really understand the exponential nature of these kinds of pandemics, there's a lot to worry about. The future I'm really scared that we're heading towards in the United States is one where our hospital beds, just by doing math of how many hospital beds we have in the United States, I think it's reasonable to be concerned that they are going to be filled with people with coronavirus soon. And you start looking at our nursing shortages and how people are going to get health care for that. And you start thinking through, are we going to get to a point where hospitals are turning people away based on who they think is going to get better and who is not going to get better? You start thinking through supply chain. We went over to Walgreens today just trying to get some surface disinfectant wipe. It's still out of stock. Dust masks are out of stock. And you think about the way these things are manufactured. And I think there are very reasonable fears to have about our capacity in every sense of the word: capacity for hospitals, capacity to create drugs, capacity for healthcare. I think it's really hard to overstate how serious this is.
And there are also so many offshoot effects that people, I feel like, are not thinking about. We're, of course, talking about how there are mask shortages and disinfectant shortages, and that affects not only people who are working in the health industry and trying to protect themselves from coronavirus, but N95 masks are something that contractors need to be able to do their jobs. You can't sand certain things or do certain jobs in the construction industry unless you have these masks available and are able to use them. And a lot of people are out of work because they cannot obtain the supplies that they need to do their job. And that's just one example.
I never thought of that, actually.
Yeah.
Wow,
This is an incredibly strange and very Brooklyn thing to say, but I work in ceramics in my free time, and a lot of ceramicists are not able to complete their pottery and sell their wares because you need to have these sort of dust masks to sand different pots and whatnot. And so that's being put aside as well.
Wow.
I've had the same
What's
problem.
interesting is we're so interconnected nowadays. We're so interdependent that it's like the butterfly effect, except it's much more dramatic. Any little shift. How about, as editor of Electric, you probably more aware than I am. What about, we've talked a little bit about computer production in China, Seth, but what about car production? Is that going to be impacted?
Oh, certainly. I mean, any part of the supply chain stops and you're stuck. Like there's, if the seat manufacturer stops, then there's no cars coming out.
Right.
And so we've already seen some slowdowns. Car manufacturers are already warning against Q1 slowdowns. And then, the whole, recession, like theoretically coming out of this is slowing people down from making big purchases. So it's going to be a big deal. Whatever you think about the virus itself, whether, it's going to affect how it's going to affect you directly, indirectly, because of everybody's reaction to it, it's going to be a big deal. And, we saw, I think Elon Musk saying, that this isn't a big deal, but he's talking about, well, how is this going to affect me? How is it going to affect people around him?
Grimes and I have a lot of popcorn and many shows to watch, and we won't be leaving the house.
Right. So it is going to be a big deal, I think. It's just, it's how people are going to react to it, and rightly so react to it.
Well, and a big deal, not just for now, but these economic consequences reverberate for months and years.
Sure.
So the disease may go away this summer, but the consequences could last. We could hit a serious recession, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, that's the general thought right now. The economy has certainly slowed already. And in China, obviously, there's huge pockets of stoppages. So
now, Foxconn, Hanhai Precision says they're going back to work this month. That's important because they're the ones making the new iPhones. The rumor was that Apple would announce new $400 iPhones, the successor to the SE, at the end of the month. I wonder, though, if really they are going back to work. You get the feeling that China is a little bit like the U.S., where there's kind of this happy glad handing that's not justified in fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's up in the air. Even if they are going back, there's probably some supply chain entity in the cameras or the whatever that may not have gone back, and maybe they can get a few 100,000 out or a couple million out, but they're probably not going to get what they expected to be able to get out the door.
2 developer conferences canceled. Google I/O canceled. The conference will go remote. Facebook's F8 also canceled. This is going to be good. In fact, I think Zoom stock did well. This is going to be good for remote conferencing, teleconferencing companies. I would imagine DoorDash and the other food delivery companies would be. In fact, I think which one was it? I think it was DoorDash, where they have now a new button on the app that says "Leave the food and go."
God.
Oh my gosh. I do think that's, I think if you're looking for a bit of a silver lining here, there are a few here. I do think one of the long-term consequences of this is I think we're going to finally get some remote work policies put in place for a lot of large companies. And I think that's going to be good for the workforce over a long term. I think it's going to be good for parents and, people sick. I think once we get better policies in place, I do hope that people are going to be able to take sick leave more easily. I think one of the most vulnerable populations with this is, as you said, Leo, people working in the food industry. If you're sick and you make food and you go to work, you're going to be spreading that to a lot of people. It doesn't matter how often you wash your hands or what precautions you take. You're going to be at immense risk. So I'm really hoping when it comes to manufacturing drugs here in the United States, we're going to increase our capacity. When it comes to some of these policies that are common sense, maybe this will be the spark that kind of gets us to take this more seriously.
San Francisco's banned events for 2 weeks. They've declared an emergency there. Stanford has canceled classes. Many companies are telling workers to stay home, including Twitter, Google, and Microsoft. And, of course, Amazon has reported that they, in fact, do have a worker sick with coronavirus. Let me see if I can find that story. I'm not sure where that Amazon employee works. So this is yeah. But is it overreacting?
No.
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 There it is. Seattle employee quarantined with coronavirus.
Yeah, and Twitter also announced on the 6th that a Seattle-based employee had been advised by their doctor that they likely had COVID-19.
Seattle has been the epicenter, I think, in the West Coast, certainly in the U.S., but I know there are many cases in your neck of the woods, too, in New York.
Yeah, I think I saw something this morning that said New York is on pace to
Eclipse Seattle.
Eclipse Seattle as far as, which is great,
Yeah, that's a title you don't really want.
Yeah, Westchester seems to be joining the elite in the coronavirus territory.
I don't know, but it does seem to me that it's not an accident that these are the areas where we have cases, and it's not because they're more likely to have visitors from Asia or from Italy or Iran, but it's because it's more likely to have tests. We were in St. Louis. They said, well, don't worry, there's no cases in St. Louis. And I have to say,
there's been no testing. I mean, did you read the fantastic Atlantic article that went through the details available from the CDC, of which there are very few, and then it went to all the different states and how they're reporting coronavirus tests, how many tests are available, and what they're saying to the public. And essentially the conclusion was no one is really testing enough. A lot of states are not reporting how many tests they're even doing or how many people they are turning away, and we have a massive public health crisis that is being kind of swept under the rug.
Thousands of tests have been administered, and out of the, who knows what the potential is in the United States. And of course, if you aren't testing, then you don't know not only who has it, but how it's spreading.
Right.
Yeah. So,
did you see how Seattle was testing for this? They were unable to secure tests from the CDC. So they went and they got some of the publicly available data, and they isolated their population by saying, okay, you have every single flu-like symptom, and we're going to give you the flu test, and you're not showing up positive for the flu. So Seattle was actually forced to develop their own test for this because of a lack of leadership by the CDC. Yeah. And I think that's really scary that because of this lack of testing kits, a lot of states are kind of on their own looking for solutions like that.
The other side effect is I'm really sick of singing Happy Birthday. So supposedly you're supposed to sing Happy Birthday twice while you wash your hands. But Karsten has provided us with an alternative. This is the poster from the National Institutes of Health on how to wash your hands, combined with Dune's litany of fear. I must not fear. By the way, this takes exactly the right amount of time. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. By that time, you're doing the backs of your hands. I will face my fear. Now scrub your nails too. I will permit it to pass over me. Scrub your thumbs and through me. And then when it has gone past, I will turn to the inner eye to see its path. That's under the water, where the fear has gone dry with a single-use paper towel. Dry, and then use the paper towel to turn off the faucet. There will be nothing, and then your hands, only I will remain. That's credit to Reddit, by the way. I love that. I'm putting that in my COVID-19 pages in my notebook.
It's got to be a 12th step that is use another single-use paper towel to open the door.
To open the door. They left out the door. How are you getting...
It's a very integral part. Every single time I go to reach for the door, I'm like, God damn it, I'm going to ruin my clean hands.
For years... I've read and kind of laughed at a well-designed bathroom will have a paper towel near the door along with a receptacle to throw it so that you can use it to open the door. They never do, so I now carry a handkerchief, which I should probably sterilize because I've opened all the bathroom doors.
Yeah, how do you know that you're grabbing it in the part that has touched the door or whether it's the clean part? Maybe you're just infecting yourself again and again.
Reinfecting over and over again. Well, I shouldn't do this.
Uh-oh.
Oh, that was a bad idea.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
have you been able to stop touching your face, Seth?
I've literally touched my face probably 5 times.
See, Seth can't wear an N95 mask, so you're out of luck. You got no seal around that beard. No seal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and glasses are pretty much full of coronavirus.
Oh.
I mean, they're touching my face.
Yeah.
Touching my hands.
Oh,
I don't know.
God, I didn't even think of that.
I was talking about our phones more. The phone is pretty much one of the most disgusting objects that you have. You can't exactly put it under the sink and wash it, even though the new iPhones are reasonably water resistant.
I've been reading on Reddit people actually doing that.
Really?
Can't really recommend it.
I bought a device. It's it's basically it's a infrared lamp, and you put your phone in there.
UV,
it charges.
not infrared.
Yes, UV.
UV will cook. Infrared will cook it.
Yes,
which would kill the germs, but may also
Keep
kill
it
the
warm.
phone.
That would be a good idea anyway. But yes, it does that, and it will also break down the DNA, so it works on viruses and bacteria. So.
Yeah. See, this is another company that's going to do very well. Phone Soap.
Yep,
at phonesoap.com. It's a little case with a UV light in it. And look at the top. Due to increased demand, the option to pre-order will be available for some products that are out of stock. Order today to keep your place in line. Basically, they're completely out of stock on all of these.
I wonder where they're manufacturing all of this.
Oh, yeah, in China.
I bet it's China.
Right? Ships May 18th. Ships May 30th. Ships April 15th. Ships
my
May
God.
18th. Ships April 30th. You're going to be dead by then, folks.
We'll be at the end of Contagion by then.
It's too late. Oh, boy. Yeah, that's amazing. So I've been actually just using a wipe, but they do say that the coronavirus will last 9 days on the glass surface of your phone. So whatever you do, do not
take a call by putting your phone to your face. No calls in 2020.
This is depressing, isn't it? It's so depressing, and I feel like we're kind of whistling past the graveyard as we joke about this.
Yeah.
And by the way, Steve Wozniak is not dead.
Oh yeah, no, that tweet where
This was kind of an irresponsible.
Just tweeting, me and Janet may have been patient zero in the U.S. Just without even getting any testing, just a casual tweet with a Swarm app link.
Yeah, that's how Steve tweets these days. By the way, Steve has been at the West Coast Sports Institute for the last 7 days. He says, checking out, this was on Monday, Janet's bad cough started January 4th. We had just returned from China and may both have been patient zero in the U.S. Later, he reported Janet had a sinus infection and not coronavirus. But he did say they went, get this, straight after this visit to China, they went to Vegas, where he was scheduled for many talks and so forth. And he felt so bad, he went to his room for 4 days. He may have just had the regular flu. There weren't any tests at the time, so... And this is Woz's sense of humor. He's joking. So
I saw that, and he had a cable news segment. I don't know which station it was on. It was the YouTube algorithm will play it for you. It was not a good segment, and I love the Woz, but I think he's a better tech commentator maybe than a health.
He's not even a very good tech commentator.
Okay, so. I was trying to be nice.
Be nice. And I know Steve. I love him. I've hung out with him. I've been on a cruise ship with him, not locked in for 14 days, but.
Maybe you're patient too, and yeah.
Oh my God. So look, there's nothing to panic over. Do not go buy all the toilet paper you can find. Although people have been doing
Whole Foods this
that.
morning, and there was like 2 rolls left.
It's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
No, instead, do what we did: buy an $8,000 Japanese toilet, and you don't need toilet paper. Did you just cough, Lisa? Stay over there.
Uh-oh.
You can hear cackling and lightly in the background.
Is it a dry cough? How's your temperature? I think most people who get it will probably not die. Like 98% of you. So if you're, and of course, unfortunately, the Trump administration decided to modify the CDC's recommendations. CDC said don't fly if you're over 60 or you have an underlying condition, and the Trump administration thought, well, that's a little extreme. You can fly. Just, I don't know what they said. Just don't go on a cruise ship, I think is what they said.
Because then you'll just be stuck in the cruise ship.
That's really...
Trump announces that he doesn't want to let you off the cruise ship because it would increase the numbers, and laughs about it.
Make our numbers look
we
bad.
can say that and laugh about it, but it's also just incredibly dark and incredibly concerning.
Yeah.
Because it's like there are so many people stuck on board, unable to receive quality medical care.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It has been also bad for civil liberties. China, and actually, I bet you the U.S. is considering this. China has been using the Alibaba app to tell you if you've been exposed to anybody with coronavirus. Because guess what? It turns out your phone knows where you've been. It knows where everyone else has been. So you can just scan your face, and it'll say, "Oh yeah, you were on the train with that guy last Thursday."
Clearview AI's ears just perked up.
I honestly think, because the civil liberties are most at risk when people are afraid, right? We know that.
Yep.
People are willing to trade their security or their privacy for safety. And I wouldn't be surprised if Congress started proposing some kind of, surveillance system to protect us from coronavirus, right?
I would not pass a policy like that. That's very Orwellian. That's terrifying. And you're right. I mean, those of us who are old enough, we lived through the Bush years, and we saw what happened when people were afraid in the aftermath of 9/11.
Patriot Act still the law of the land, folks.
Up for renewal right now.
Yeah.
It's true. Both parties passed that.
Yeah, of course.
I wrote about that in HuffPo,
Yep.
blasting.
I remember that.
It's absolutely indefensible. But yeah, I think you're really right on. I'm curious, and I say this genuinely not knowing how I feel about this, because being an engineer, I tend to lean on experts and see how they feel about this. But when I see, China shutting down Wuhan, and Italy just announced that one of their cities is the size of New York, they're basically doing the same.
Right. Down Lombardi.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you all feel about that? I'm very torn about it. It seems to me that might be an example where limiting travel might be a valid course of action. How does everyone else feel?
So I was having this debate with a doctor friend of mine, and he seems to believe that we're just going to, America's a little different than China, and we're just going to take it. We're going to hide our elderly and sick and, keep them isolated. But everybody else is going to be like, I'm going to get it.
I don't notice people staying home.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. My gym is a ghost town. The political rallies. Yeah, the political rallies I've been doing, they've been very well attended. But everywhere else, absolutely, I see it.
That's a good example. Peloton is probably doing fantastically right now because nobody wants to go to the gym and do the Soul Cycle or whatever.
Right.
They're all just getting Pelotons at their house.
Well, maybe we'll have a system like this. This is the AliPay app. You scan your face, and if you're green, it's good. You can travel freely. If you're red, stay home. It also.
I mean, the issue with this is that a lot of people are saying they're getting red or yellow or things saying that they should have restricted travel due to their exposure to coronavirus. And yet they're saying, I haven't been exposed to anything. I don't have a temperature. I haven't done anything. But yet they are stuck, unable to move or live their lives.
It's a little weird that AliPay, they're calling this the AliPay health code, that AliPay is determining whether you're healthy enough to travel. That's
really weird and not great.
It's a payment app.
That is freaky.
People sign up through, this is Ant Financial, a sister company of Alibaba. People sign up with the wallet app AliPay and are assigned a color code, green, yellow, or red, that indicates their health status. It's being used in 200 cities and is being rolled out nationwide. But neither the company nor Chinese officials, according to the New York Times, have explained how it classifies people. It's not clear, why you get that color code. At the same time, if people get scared enough, I could see them doing it. I think you're right, Seth. I think in the United States, we'll just take the hit. I feel like that's what I'm saying.
But I mean, taking the hit means the death of
certain percentage
how many
of people. Yeah.
Yeah, millions, hundreds of thousands.
I feel pretty good. I'm in the high risk group. I'm over 60, type 2 diabetic, high blood pressure. I'm in the risk group. But
you would self isolate yourself theoretically if you thought
what
you were.
What about people who are immunocompromised due to some pre-existing health condition, and they have to, and they have a job where they're expected to be there in person, and then they have to choose between whether do I stay at home with coronavirus, this disease that might kill me, or go to a doctor where I'm going to get an untold amount of medical debt from whatever treatment they're going to have to give, and lose my income while I am doing it. I mean, it seems problematic to have people who are healthy and able-bodied and privileged in this sense making those sort of decisions for people who are in between a rock and a hard place either way.
A couple of weeks ago, Zeynep Tufekci, we love her. She's a sociologist and a geek, wrote a blog post on Scientific American in which
this is great.
I thought it was really good. She said it's not just smart to prepare for coronavirus, it's our civic duty, because if we don't take care of ourselves, then we could jam the hospitals, and people, our neighbors, our elderly neighbors, could be deprived of the kind of health care that they absolutely need.
And not even the elderly neighbors. Let's say we get to a situation where we haven't, as Tufekci greatly says, like flatten the curve, where things get as bad as they can as quickly as they can, and the hospitals are overrun with immunocompromised and elderly patients who have caught this. Then any of us normal people who have regular diseases or health issues would get turned away, because there is not... Let's say someone goes into labor because they have a baby on the way. How are they supposed to access medical care if all of the hospital beds are filled up with coronavirus patients?
Yeah.
So on and so forth. It's compounding levels of awfulness.
Only 100,000 ventilators in the United States.
Oh my God.
There's certainly not enough hospital beds.
This is why we get vaccinated, right?
But we can't.
It's the hurt, but we cannot.
We
cannot for a whole year.
Yeah.
But that's right. Self-isolation, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
also, what if it mutates? I mean, that's the real worry. Like, you've got the common cold. Like, the reason it's very difficult to prepare a flu shot every single year is because there's so many different strains of it. It's constantly mutating. What's going to happen to this from here? We just don't know. And again, this is really the worst time this could possibly be happening, because we're just so unprepared on every single level, on a healthcare infrastructure level, on a leadership level. Paris, I love your statement about medical debt. There was a New York Times writer, I haven't been able to corroborate this, but a New York Times writer was retweeting some information from the CDC saying eventually the coronavirus test itself is going to be covered, but as far as extensive hospitalization, if you're on Medicaid, it will not be covered. And that is a terrifying thought. Like, what happens when many of us are going into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt over this?
Yeah.
Or let's say you took an Uber pool, and it turns out a couple of weeks later they determined that the other person who's in the Uber pool with you has coronavirus or was affected by it. So then you are put in quarantine, and you either have just average insurance or no insurance, and then you suddenly have to pay how many thousands of dollars in medical debt for being put in quarantine for 14 days, regardless of whether or not you actually end up with coronavirus.
Or,
what are you supposed to do then?
Or you don't get sick days, so you don't get to work for 2 weeks and you don't get a paycheck. I mean, the consequences are significant.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't want to depress people, but it's serious. It is serious. And it's serious in a way that may not be immediately obvious. That's why I thought Tufekci's article was really interesting. Flatten the curve, because it's not for you, it's for everybody.
Well, I guess my all that Soylent I've got in my house, I guess that's a good thing now. I was doing my civic duty and flattening the curve.
You don't drink that, do you?
I do, absolutely, I do.
I too am a Soylent bro. It's awful.
Yeah,
I have a couple of cases that in my garage. I'll send them along. They're expired.
Yeah, that's probably not great.
I feel like Soylent doesn't go bad though.
It can.
It gets
they
better.
moved over to algae protein.
It's fermenting.
That stuff lasts for 3 years.
Yeah, see, it's
that's true.
Oh no, I have the original. I think.
Okay.
The one that. Yeah, the one,
powder one.
The one you can use as a laxative if times get tough. Yeah. No, I seriously have a ton of Soylent. I've been trying to. What should I do with this?
I
mean, if it's expired, it's probably.
I guess I have to throw it out, huh? Yeah. On the other hand, if I get quarantined, maybe I'll be glad I have it.
Yep,
it's true.
I drank some expired Soylent just to see what would happen a couple of months ago.
How'd it go?
What's all right?
Are you patient zero now?
What's all right?
Doesn't get worse.
It doesn't get worse. That's exactly right, Seth. It does not get worse.
I don't know. Sometimes I've had like a Soylent drink. I left it open for a little bit, then shook it back up, tried to drink it, being like, okay, it's been a day or two. It can't be worse. And it's chunky, which is bad.
Oh, you don't want chunky Soylent.
You
no.
don't want chunky.
Bacteria.
I love Soylent. Very good, but chunky, nope.
So you
see,
I liked the flavor too, and everybody thought I was nutty. It's got a soy flavor. It's fine.
It's got a soy flavor. Yeah. I love the taste of soy milk. I'm lactose intolerant, so I normally drink soy or oat milk.
Do you do
Very good.
Do they still make the half coffee, half Soylent?
Coffeeist ones? Yeah. I think there's a new name for it. Really big fan of that. Like the mocha one. They recently released a mint chocolate
would you get me a Soylent?
one.
There's one of my... You don't refrigerate it, right? I'm just checking.
I refrigerate mine. Because I think it tastes better when it's cold.
It's better cold. Yeah.
I like
you can drink
I like the
then
squares.
It tastes more silty.
Silty?
It's more silty if it's like room temperature.
It is a little
if it's
silty.
cold,
There's sand in it. Yeah. What were you saying, Brianna?
Sorry, I was just going to say they came out with a square meal bar version of it, and I wish they'd make a bigger one that was 400 calories. But it's in little 100-calorie.
It's perfect for running for Congress.
It is. I really mean this. I leave it in my purse, and I leave first thing in the morning, and I'm eating while I'm driving to my first event. It's fantastic.
It's in the right-hand cupboard, John, in the back. It's my.
I have a bunch at my office whenever I am.
It's my emergency Soylent. Exactly.
Emergency. It's like, okay, if you're having a long day, you realize you can't eat lunch, chug one.
I should probably explain that Soylent was designed by some Silicon Valley nerd.
Rosa Labs, I believe.
Yeah, because I've always said there should be people chow. If you can make chow for dogs and zoo animals, that there's a complete meal. You should have a complete meal for humans. And this is basically human chow.
It is neutral liquid that is not like unpalatable in any way. It doesn't have any harsh flavors or things that would make you actively dislike it. And it has all of the nutrients ostensibly and caloric requirements that you need for 1/4 of your daily,
You wouldn't want to live on it exclusively, would you?
I did it once for a week in college as kind of a stunt for our college newspaper, and honestly, it was good. It was a good week.
Okay, this expires January 8th. This expired in January 2017.
Don't do it,
no. Leo, don't do it.
You have too much to live for. Don't do it.
At least shake it first.
Lisa will kill you.
It can't be any worse than coronavirus. I've been saved by the producer. Let's take a break. Our show today. Thank you, Karsten.
Karsten just ran over, snatched the bottle
up on aisle 7. I think
ran back.
There's been an accident.
Karsten is America's greatest hero.
Yeah.
Don't
you drink it. Don't you drink it.
I'm not going to drink the Soylent.
I think it's fine. I think it's
probably... It is not fine.
It doesn't say... Okay. It says it's best buy. It doesn't say it's bad buy. It's best buy.
Years past is bad.
Do an ad.
I'm kind of craving it now.
After the ads, you can read the Soylent. Then I'll give it back to you. Or then you can drink the Soylent.
I have beaten my body up. I was drinking Soylent. Then I went keto, so I have all this old Soylent. And now I'm not keto anymore, so I figure I can have the Soylent now.
Do the ad.
Our show today brought to you by, oddly enough, a life insurance agency. You may want to know about this. Wouldn't you love to be able to save on your life insurance as much as 41%? It's Health IQ. You could get $1 million worth of life insurance from as little as $36 a month. Health IQ uses science and data to secure lower life insurance rates for healthy people like you. So if you know health, you exercise, you ride your Peloton, or you get a minimum of 8 hours of sleep at night, you're eating right, then you really can get a better insurance rate. But you can't just do it yourself. You can't just go to the insurance company because they're going to look at you funny. To them, you're just a number. What you do is you go to Health IQ. They're your insurance concierge. You're more than a number to them. They give you white glove service. They walk you through the entire process of applying. The policy is underwritten by one of the top 30 insurance companies, but they have rates that are exclusive to Health IQ. You can't find them anywhere else. And you have to qualify. So this is how it works. Go to healthiq.com/twit, healthiq.com/twit. Take the quiz. It's fun. It's a scientific way to assess your health literacy. Knowledge assessment, not self-assessment. So it's just asking you questions to see if you know. But they put this together with the nation's leading medical, health, and fitness experts. Depending on your score, and if you want, you can offer other qualifying factors, things like your Fitbit data. You can save up to 41% on your life insurance premiums compared to other providers. Now, there's no commitment. The quiz is fun. You'll learn even more about the opportunities to be rewarded for your commitment to living healthy. HealthIQ.com/twit. Let Health IQ's concierge service guide you to getting the life insurance you deserve because of your healthy lifestyle. HealthIQ.com/twit. It's actually really amazing. Get an amazing rate. HealthIQ.com/twit. And it's fun. Apple restricting travel to Italy and Korea. They are also rejecting all coronavirus-related apps in the App Store unless they come from legit health organizations. The problem is, of course, humans being humans, they're jumping on this, and there's people putting out apps, and Apple does not want to put bad information out, and I think that's probably a good thing. I don't know if Google's doing the same thing with the Play Store. I haven't heard that.
Always in cases of announcements like this, my first question is how is that actually going to happen? How are they policing apps?
Well, God knows they must have 1 million people reviewing apps, right? I mean, that's got to be a big part of their job. They review all apps anyway, right?
I mean, it's been mostly automated over the last few years.
What? No. Is it? I think
it's more than it was.
Seth, don't they use humans to review those apps?
Oh, they absolutely do. Yeah.
There's a human that hits every app, but I think a lot of the vetting is done by algorithms.
Well, they probably have programs they run and stuff. Because a lot
of apps that are clearly against Apple's terms of service have gotten through, and I think just generally in the history of the Apple's App Store, there have been cases where they've been like, this is an app that's against our terms of service. We're taking it down. And I think that if somebody really wanted to, you could make an app called some random word, and it could actually be full of coronavirus misinformation, but such is the way of internet content moderation.
Right.
I mean, this is, I agree. It's probably a good policy overall. This is an extraordinary circumstance, but it obviously makes me nervous to have a private company kind of censoring what kind of health information you can come out with. That said, this is a case where it's probably a good policy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, Tito's Vodka actually had to tweet, you cannot use Tito's Vodka to sterilize your hands. It's only 40 proof.
Oh, God. We are all idiots. We're all in so much trouble.
Dude, I made my own hand sanitizer, man.
Did you all see the story about all the students in Wuhan, China? I love this. I love this so much.
Oh, that's such a good story.
This is so great. Okay, so you have all the students in Wuhan, China, and they moved over to an app to assign all the students homework while they're being homeschooled. And they figured out that if they could get the reviews of the app down to 1 star, it will be delisted from the star. So they review bombed it, took it down from like 4 stars to 1 star. And I just, I admire that. Yes.
The power. Wow. Uber and Lyft say they're going to continue to pay quarantined drivers. I mean, this is a problem. If you're a gig worker, what do you do if you get quarantined? You're out.
Especially because in our area here, in the New York City area, there was just a coronavirus patient who is an Uber driver.
Oy.
Oh.
Oy.
I literally took an Uber yesterday to this glass blowing workshop I was in, and as I was getting out, the Uber driver was like, "Stay safe and stay sanitized," and I was like, "Oh God, this is the world we're in now." I mean, it's got to be a very scary reality for them because they don't know who they're having to share, like, just a small amount of air.
You are very crafty, Paris Martineau. You blow glass, you spin pots, you do ceramics.
I just made a really cool neon sign. That's what I was doing yesterday.
What?
Yeah.
Is anything we're seeing like those legs? Are those yours? Is that?
Yes. So I got these legs a couple of years ago. They were mannequin legs that I happened to see on Craigslist one day. And somebody was giving them away for free. So on my lunch break, I went and got them, and then I took them home and spray painted them gold.
Why didn't anybody get a picture of Paris Martineau walking down the street in Brooklyn carrying a pair of legs?
People definitely did. I've never been stopped more in the street than when I was carrying those home from work.
They
literally,
say you're
like 3 or 4 people stopped me. Somebody in the subway, because I had to take them on the subway to get them home. Like, one person came up and they screamed at me. They're like, "Oh my God, where did the top half go?" No, and ran away.
Giving
3 or 4
lie to
people
the
said nice legs. It was
of course, that's what I would have said. They giving lie to the fact that you are anonymous in New York. I thought, you thought you could get away with anything. Nobody pay attention to you doing anything, but apparently carrying legs is a
yeah. I know.
step
Normally
too
people
far.
don't give anything at all if you're. But legs, everybody wanted to talk to me. It was very funny.
Apple. This is from Philip Elmer DeWitt, PED30.com. Says, you probably should come to work, Eve. Yeah. This is who has to come to the office. The most people working from home is Microsoft, 87%, then Amazon, 78%, 68% of Facebook employees, 44% of Google employees. The least was 38% Apple employees.
Yeah, I've heard that from Apple people for a long time. This is probably an unpopular opinion, but I think for software engineering, there is a lot of value in being able to sit in the same space with other people you're developing software with, to like draw on a whiteboard and figure out solutions. I think it's one of these weird professions where it's not easy to do remote work necessarily, or at least it's not for me and the people I've worked with. So I can understand that policy, and Apple's been famously aggressive towards it from, I remember hearing friends talking about it back in 2007.
Yeah. Apparently, Apple might be changing their tune because your very own Discovery, Seth, Mark Gurman, who today tweeted, Apple's encouraging employees to work from home if they can as an additional precaution. But the retail stores remain open, so somebody's going to work. Somebody has to work.
Yep.
Wow.
It's hard to know. I mentioned at the beginning our studios are closed for the duration to visitors, and that wasn't because of me. I don't. Maybe I'm foolish, but I'm the guy drinking expired Soylent, so don't take. But I didn't bother me. I mean, I figure we won't shake hands, but it's not going to. But a number of my employees said, I'm asthmatic or I have issues. I don't think it's a good idea. And I think as an employer, you really have to take that seriously. I don't want to risk the health of my employees. So what I'm willing to do myself does not necessarily extend to, as an employer, what I would do. And I'm
wondering how this is going to impact. Other live TV shows. That rely on live studio audiences. Is that going to continue being a thing here in New York?
Didn't the NBA talk about playing its games without fans?
Wow.
Yep.
LeBron said, "I'm not playing without fans." March Madness, they're thinking about it too. The college tournament. What point?
Maybe every fan can just get like a hamster ball. A bunch of people in a hamster ball swirling around.
I think some of this is that we've watched too many zombie apocalypse movies and TV shows. And we're kind of projecting onto the zombie apocalypse.
I think that it is exactly what we were talking about earlier. All these sort of things they have to do to minimize risk, to flatten the curve. What was it?
It's hard to know, though. Is this necessary or is this overreaction?
CPAC. At CPAC, there was at least one confirmed or rumored coronavirus case from that mass gathering of people. Why wouldn't you?
A little ironic because at CPAC, the consensus was this is all being hyped up by the media. And they're trying to get the president.
It's the media again.
It's the media. It's fake news. Would be ironic, wouldn't it, if some of them fell ill? I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
Pandemics don't care about what political
Pandemics don't
you
care.
vote for.
Yeah.
Exactly. My husband, he works in biotech. Like, this is his field. And I'm trying to think about how to put this and not sound partisan, but I have been frustrated with some of the accuracy coming out from the White House about how long it's going to take to develop a vaccine about this.
I loved watching the president say, we're going to have one in 6 months. And then Dr. Fauci goes, No, it's at least a year to a year and a half, Mr.
It's
President.
a year
half,
if
best case
everything
scenario.
goes absolutely perfect in the vaccine development process, which has
And
never
we
really
don't-
happened before.
But
Exactly.
honestly, I don't. I know this is weird, but I don't hold it that much against Trump because you get the feeling he just says whatever he thinks. He doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not like he's like lying. I don't think he's actually lying. I think he's saying, no, it could be 6 months. It could be a month. It could be 5 days. I don't know. That's kind of what it is. I don't think he's going, let me calculatingly say, let me say something so the stock market goes up. Maybe he is.
I think there's
I think he is.
You do?
I think
You're
there's
giving
a
him more credit than
psychological-
I do, actually. I don't give him any credit. I think he's just saying whatever, the first thing that comes to mind.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, but I was going to say, I think that there's, to your point, Leo, I agree that some of these steps are very aggressive, but I think we're trying to buy time for health officials to do things like up the amount of masks we can produce, to up the amount of disinfectant and toilet paper we can
To
produce.
the amount of
to-
tests that
to-
are available.
to get tests available. So what we're trying to do right now is to slow down the spread of this. And hopefully, according to what my husband has told me, who works in this field, if things go well, I think it's reasonable to hope we could start seeing a vaccine 2 years from now. So if we can slow it down enough for us to kind of get prepared, that is a reasonable course of action. So are we going to be living like this 5 years from now? I really hope not. But I think it's reasonable to want to slow this down.
Yeah, and by the way, I know people are saying, okay, enough about coronavirus. Let's talk about the tech industry. There is nothing going on in the tech industry.
No, it's just been coronavirus-related tech news.
Yeah. I mean, I
had
would be
multiple
glad to
meetings with
talk
my editor
about.
and whatnot this week, and they're like, it's all coronavirus
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I would be thrilled to talk about the next phone. Although I actually am mad at Wired. Because
Why are you mad at Wired?
you published, you, Paris Martineau,
Me.
you published a review of an insanely expensive cooking device. And the review from Joe Ray, a chef and Wired, said, the headline was something like, this insane product you have to have. So I ordered
It's the
it.
robotic equivalent of your own personal sous chef.
Yes.
I don't think anybody is thinking their own personal sous chef is something they have to have.
Well, you don't know me. So I bought it. It's $1,500 freaking bucks, but at least I'll be able to cook soup while we're quarantined. This thing is also.
Did you use the affiliate link, Leo? Gotta pay
course.
for my salary.
I used the affiliate link. I did. Buy now.
I am not at all involved with gear posts, but love to have a job.
I'm gonna bring it in on Wednesday because Stacey Higginbotham on our This Week in Google show.
You're gonna cook your Soylent with that?
She has the same Jones for expensive internet connected cooking devices. What I didn't gather from the review and from the picture is this thing is about the size of R2-D2.
Really?
Yeah, it's not small. Doesn't it look like it could fit right on your counter?
I mean, I assume that's why it's $1,500.
Yeah, it's a big thing. And also it gets new recipes all the time and stuff like that. And
How is it better than just an
Instapot? It kind of looks like an Instapot.
An Instapot. Yeah.
It kind of, see, I should have
You
looked.
bought it. How do you?
I haven't cooked with it
Why is
yet.
better?
It's so elaborate that I haven't had time to set it up. It is okay. Anyway, thank you, Wired.
You're a hardcore chef.
I'm a sucker. No. In fact, I gave up Instagram because I bought every 9th picture. It was something I bought. So I literally had to give it up. I think I need a 12-step program.
I get it. Now that I have a
internet
house,
ads.
my husband and I bought a house this year, and I've got an actual kitchen to fill up. I bought so many kitchen gadgets I never would have guessed, like the top of the line Instapot. I've got 2 food processors. I mean, it's tempting because I don't know. It's like your space to do your art.
Honestly, my favorite thing that I have in my kitchen is my Nespresso machine.
Yeah.
Got it a couple of years ago. Best
Yeah.
purchase I've ever made.
Yep.
Use it like 5 times a day.
Yep.
Very unhealthy, caffeine intake wise, but I love it.
Is it? Is it really? I think if you mix caffeine with Soylent, you get the perfect.
I used to do that. Yeah, I used to.
Yeah.
You can like pour it into
So good.
a Soylent, kind of shake it up.
Yeah.
Yep. You get
All
the
your friends will hate
Starbucks
you?
Via packets at the airport.
No,
and you
that's
mix that in
instant
there.
coffee.
Oh, but it's so good if you mix it with Soylent because you can get like mega strong. You can get super high on all the caffeine. It's great.
I'm telling you, made for campaigning. Running for Congress? Via and Soylent. That's all you need to know.
That's it.
God bless America. Here's some more coronavirus news. Baby Yoda toys.
Oh.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Sad Baby Yoda.
I love the caption of this article, which is, "You'll be fine, Baby Yoda. You're a fictional character. Your merchandise, though." ... Ominous.
Filing by Hasbro, maker of the Baby Yoda toy, said that they're way behind in some of the most highly anticipated Mandalorian toys recently teased at the New York Toy Fair. There's another event that won't be happening again for a while.
Heard from my coworkers it was really nice, though.
Toy Fair
A lot of
or
toys.
Baby Yoda?
Yeah, Toy Fair.
Oh, yeah, Toy Fair's awesome.
There were a lot. Apparently, Thomas the train engine's coming back. He had a big showing at the Toy Fair.
All
I didn't
right.
realize he'd gone away, but
All right. Baby Yoda waffle maker makes a Baby Yoda waffle. Maybe not, though, if you can't get it. So anyway.
this is the tech news we've been reduced to.
This is what we've been reduced to. Yeah. The days when I was wishing I wouldn't have to report on another Samsung phone are long gone, folks. Come on, Samsung. Give us another phone. I did download Plague Inc. You can't get it in China anymore, but I did download it because I wanted to prepare. And you know what the number one movie on iTunes this week was? Number one movie.
Contagion, I bet.
Yep.
There
That's
we
a
go.
good movie, though. Yeah.
Well, it's scientifically
it's
accurate.
a stressful movie.
Yeah, it came out 9 years ago, but it is, for some reason, I don't know why, number one on iTunes now. Everybody has to watch Kate Winslet get sick and die. I'm sorry, Gwyneth Paltrow. Well, Kate too. Is that a spoiler?
I think if the movie's that old, you're
You don't have to worry about spoilers.
I'm a big believer in the 1 year rule.
You know
if
who's
it's
good in
past
it?
a year-
And it is a little prescient because remember, this is 2011. Jude Law plays a blogger who has a fallacious cure for the disease featured in Contagion, which is a flu. And he my favorite scenes in the movie are him walking around in a homemade spacesuit, putting flyers up.
That is what the bloggers are wearing these days.
Yeah, it's very bloggery.
I mean,
If they remake it, it'll be a podcaster. We're the bloggers, the new bloggers. I literally don't know what I'm going to do because I don't have anything else.
There's a lot of game news this week.
Oh, thank God. Yeah, because stay home and play games. No,
That's
bet you
there are a lot of great games out right now.
E3 is coming in
Yeah.
June. They haven't announced whether they're canceling it or not, right?
So you've got the Final Fantasy VII remake demo, which is absolutely amazing. That game is just looking 10 out of 10. You have Grand Blue Fantasy that just came out this week. That is amazing. It's really good time for games. Like this can be one of the
Animal
best
Crossing
years.
hype is
Animal
reaching
Crossing?
its peak. March 20th.
Absolutely.
Prepare yourself. Prepare your
I've
family.
already downloaded it. Yep.
Black
Absolutely.
Mesa just came out.
Oh, that I want to do. That's the
What is
remake, not remake, but cleaned
It
up
is the
version
remake.
of Half-Life. Well,
It's
they
Half-Life
really?
in the Source engine, built by fans.
yeah. So is it the same story or is it a new story?
It's the game.
It's the game. They've just cleaned it up
Half-Life,
so
the
it's
game
high
run in
quality.
the Source and in the
Yeah.
Half-Life 2 engine.
I
Made by
really
fans,
wanna
sold
play this.
Officially by Valve.
Yeah.
Starting right now.
Is it VR as well as
It's not
not
VR,
VR.
yet. But I wouldn't be surprised if they make it.
But look how
VR
good that
version.
looks. And Half-Life was one of the great games of all time.
So good.
Yeah. So I would play Black Mesa. That'll keep me for at least the first week of quarantine.
I will play that, but looking at that as a game developer, I mean, Source Engine is really dated at this point.
Oh, really?
I mean, it needs an update. I'm trying. I see that. I don't see anything particularly impressive in that trailer
okay.
from a technical point
Yes,
of view.
but
But fans made
made
it.
that.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Did they have to remake all the assets, or I mean, how did they?
Yes.
What does that mean? They made it. They redrew
They rebuilt everything.
texture,
rebuilt, retextured,
Wow.
redid everything.
That's a lot of work.
I think
It's a
the
lot of
new
work.
source engine will let you do sub-D levels, so you could get the old assets on it and just apply another level of subdivision on it and retexture it and have it look a lot better. That's what that looked like to me, but I could be wrong.
Well, you're the developer, so I trust you.
Play it and tell us what they did.
You know what else? It's a big time for websites about whether your favorite thing is canceled yet.
I know.
There you go.
Is it canceled yet.com? Last updated March 6th. I wonder if something happened to him.
It got canceled.
It got canceled. Is it canceled? Google I/O? Yeah. South by? Yeah. Microsoft Build? No.
When is Coachella going to be canceled, guys?
Well, actually, they have a funny line about Coachella. Sadly, no.
I know.
Oh,
What
If
is
you keep
uh-oh?
scrolling, isn't Chris Matthews on here?
Yeah, Chris Matthews. Yeah, let's see. PAX West? No, but Chris
Yes.
Matthews, yes.
Yes.
Yep.
I probably should say, by the way, I'm very sorry about Elizabeth Warren, Brianna. I'm sure that breaks your heart.
It's been a hard week for a lot of women, especially here in Massachusetts.
Yeah. Broke my heart. I gave her thousands of dollars. I'll
She's
never see
amazing.
that money again.
I tell you, Leo, if you saw her in person,
Yeah, I
I've seen
know.
her at so
I
many
know.
events in person. She has skills of being a retail politician that I deeply envy. And
The pinky
she's-
swear, the selfie lines. I mean, just amazing.
Oh.
And what's really sad to me is that it's going to come down to a vote between two old men in their 70s. Old white men in their 70s. Can't we do better than that?
Yeah.
That's just pathetic. And I'm not talking about the Democrats. I'm talking about the November election. It seems we could do better, but maybe not.
I mean, these guys are all the coronavirus target age.
Good point.
You know,
And they're all going to be at large public events with huge
Oh,
crowds.
geez, Louise. You couldn't write this scenario, right? This is like...
Yeah, I will say during Super Tuesday, as coronavirus fears were increasing exponentially, I was thinking, oh God, this is at a time when so many people are in huge crowds waiting in lines together all around the nation.
Well, you know what struck me is we dodged a bullet at CES because there you have 180,000 people, including probably 30% from China.
Yeah.
And by a hair's breadth, that did not become a breeding ground. But it sure could have been. Man, people always get sick at CES.
Yeah, I was going to say like that, like getting the CES flu is like part of the
Part of the
tradition.
The fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could have
Leo,
been
I have a tech story that doesn't have anything to do
Hold
with
that
coronavirus.
thought.
Yes. Okay.
I'm going to do an ad because if I don't,
Yes.
we're going to be here all day. And
We also have text
and then we'll come back with an actual tech story thanks to Brianna Wu. Oh my goodness, Brianna's here. Oh, I forgot. There is a woman still in the election, Tulsi Gabbard. I completely forgot about her. I apologize.
Yes.
Brianna Wu, she's running for Congress.
She's present, as she voted that one time.
Present. That's right.
Present.
Present.
Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi is present. Brianna Wu, candidate for U.S. Congress in the Massachusetts 8th at Brianna Wu. What is your website?
It's Brianna Wu for Congress and supportbrianna.com.
Thank you. Also with us from Electrek and 9 to 5. He's the publisher. He created all of those. 9 to 5 Google too. 9 to 5 Mac. Seth Weintraub in his attic, where he is social distancing.
Yes, I'm
Safe.
I'm hiding away.
Safe in your attic. He doesn't need an N95 mask. He doesn't have to shave because he's not going to go near anybody. Also with us, Paris Martineau. She is a glass blower, a pot thrower, and writer for Wired. It's great to have you, Paris.
Always great to be here.
Yeah, I always love having all three of you on. You're three of my favorite people. Our show today brought to you by Stamps.com. You know, I bet you Stamps gets a little boost from all this. Why go to the post office when you can do everything you need to do from your desk with Stamps.com? You don't even have to go out and buy anything because you have it all. Your computer, your printer, and Stamps.com. That's it. You can print real U.S. postage right from your printer. You can print postage or mailing labels for any class of mail 24/7, whenever you're in the mood, any letter, any package, anywhere you want to send. And once your mail is ready, you can put it on the front porch and tell your mail carrier to pick it up or drop it in a mailbox. With Stamps.com, by the way, time isn't the only thing you'll be saving. They have savings you can't even get at the post office. 5 cents off every first-class stamp. Up to 40% off shipping rates, not to mention it's a fraction of the cost of those ridiculous, expensive postage meters. No equipment to lease, no long-term commitments. Stamps.com. It saves you time and money. If you do mailing, and everybody does, we send a lot of mail out. We love Stamps.com. 700,000 small businesses use Stamps.com. So should you. Right now, you'll get a special offer. I love this offer. It includes a 4-week trial of Stamps.com, plus a bunch of free postage and a digital scale, a USB scale, so you never have to worry that you've got the right postage. All you have to do is go to Stamps.com, click the microphone at the top of the page, and type in TWIT. Stamps.com, type in TWIT, click that microphone, and get an amazing offer. Stamps.com. How long have we been advertising them? I think more than a decade. I'm a big fan of Stamps.com. All right. A tech story that mentions in no way the coronavirus, Brianna Wu.
No way whatsoever. So I don't know if any of you saw this story, but I had to report to the FBI a intrusion attempt to hack my campaign
the
webcams for my house. So
we sent you a bunch of cameras. Was it them?
No, it wasn't that. It was the Nest system there.
Okay.
That was the weak link in the chain.
I think we sent you Ring system, didn't we?
You did. You did. Absolutely.
Did you retire those after the hacks?
It's a great product. It's a very good product.
Okay. But you've switched to Nest.
But the Nest system, basically I did have to report this to the FBI, and they are currently coming through all of my email addresses for that. I want to tell everyone here, like everyone on the show today, you're all journalists. And I did go ahead and sign up for the Google highest security thing, which anyone can opt into with one of these. This is a Google Titan key. There are 2 of them that come along with it. So, all of us here, we've got multiple accounts. It's kind of a pain in the butt to have an additional security stuff. But the truth is TFA and, SMS is not the safest way to secure your email account. So I can tell you, we went through, I did a full security audit, top to bottom. We found other intrusions, and it's a very, very good system. It's mostly painless. It's a little bit quirky if you're all on iOS, and there is a Bluetooth component to it that's inconvenient to use.
USB-C, I think, right?
It does have USB-C.
I do it also. They're advanced protection, and you don't have to use the Titan key. And I use this as a YubiKey, the 5CI, that has both Lightning on one end and Type-C on the other end. And then you can see this is on my keychain. I also carry an adapter for a Type A. So I use this key. And by the way, and Google gives you 2, but don't get one key in case you lose it. You can register multiple keys. And it's probably a good idea to register the key you keep on your keychain, and as well as the key that you put in your safe deposit box, or I just keep it, I shouldn't say where, somewhere safe. So do you know how you were hacked?
So one of the things I just want to let the FBI do their job and not comment on it publicly. I think that's the best way to go forward there. I think I will say I feel comfortable saying this. Like most people, I have many, many different accounts. And one of my accounts, I did not put TFA on. We're tech people. I'm sure all of us have like 10, 15 email accounts here. And one of the ones in the loop was vulnerable.
All it takes is one.
And that's exactly right. And I'm someone, I use 1Password. I generate the longest string that I can. You've got to take this extremely seriously, especially if you have devices like security cams for your house. So I guess I just wanted to say the YubiKey / Google Titan key, it's a very, very good product. And I think anyone that's at a high risk of being targeted should consider this, because there's a whole conversation to be had about the S7 backbone and how safe it is.
Cell phones are not safe, period.
No, they aren't. That's a fact.
This advanced protection program is free. Anybody who uses Google can use it. It's a step beyond just using an authenticator or text messaging. It uses these hardware dongles. They do, in fact, specifically say anyone at risk of targeted attacks like journalists, activists, business leaders, and political campaign teams. And I think they created this in response to the DNC hack, as I remember.
They did.
So this is specific. You know, you're the target, but I also consider myself a target, and I always use hardware authentication. I feel like it's a great thing to do. In fact, there's a Ask the Tech Guy we did on authentication keys.
I think one of the things that was really heartening for me, Leo, is, I dealt with the FBI a lot during Gamergate, which also involved tech policy issues. And the conversation I had with them in 2020 was night and day. And the impression I got is that they've had a lot of internal conversations because the level of education was stunning. Like the questions they were asking me were, have you been using a VPN to access? And that's a pretty insightful question for the FBI to ask you, because that would throw off false positives if you've been hacked. So I was just really impressed by how much better they were today than 5 years ago.
That's encouraging. By the way, Google also will let you, and this is a newer feature of advanced protection, use your phone as a physical authentication key. So my phone, it was one of my phones, I won't show you which one, is registered as an authentication key as well as the physical YubiKey. And that makes it a little bit easier. You can add external keys, but it's nice that you can use an Android or iOS device, even a Mac or Windows PC. So
I'm not a fan of that. My team wanted to use that, and I just thought I know there are ways to get around it.
It uses Bluetooth, which isn't the most secure thing in the world. Yeah. Right.
There's just, I think if you're trying to reach the highest level, if you're going to do this, do it right, basically.
I agree. Yeah. And of course, remember that the lowest hanging fruit in your security chain is the one the hackers will attack. So if you are using, and I see this all the time with banks especially, they'll let you use better two-factor like an authenticator, but they always fall back to SMS, text messaging. And that means you're no more secure than if you were just using text messaging. Yeah. If a hacker can say, oh, I lost my key. Oh, don't worry, we'll text you a key. That isn't good security. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that you...
SMS jacked, then you can get SMS jacked.
Yeah, it happens all the time. I'm sorry that happened to you, Brandon. I'm glad that the FBI is working on it, and I hope they catch him.
It was.
Do they think it was
awkward? Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I think it was a state actor.
They haven't said either way. I don't know. It was a real gut check moment for me, especially talking publicly about it, because I'm obviously running on a cybersecurity platform, and it's frankly embarrassing that, I know what the best course of action is. I talk about it all the time, and to have made a stupid mistake and to still have been...
Oh, no. Don't beat up on yourself. It's embarrassing. Don't beat up on yourself.
But I thought it was the right thing to do, to come forward and say, look, this happened to me. This is something all campaigns need to take seriously. I'm not even an elected official yet, and I'm being targeted.
The thing to remember is there are really two kinds of attacks in the world. There are general phishing attacks. Those are much easier to defend against. If you're a target, it is very difficult. And ultimately, if you're a target of a state actor, it's almost impossible, to be honest. Brianna is the target of a variety of, as you may remember or may know already, she was one of the targets of Gamergate. So you have lots of enemies. I'm sorry.
I do. I had the best enemies.
Well, I would say the worst, to creepiest anyway. And so I'm really sorry that happened. And you can't assume it was political or nation.
I have good reason to believe it was political by nature.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't say too much. Investigation ongoing. I look forward to reporting on a future This Week in Tech that they got them. They're taking them all in. They're hauling them all in. Actually, there is a related story because Patrick Wardle, who is a former NSA hacker, white hat hacker, and now does security for Jamf, which is a big Apple consultant, and also writes some of the best. I really like his security utilities for Macintosh. showed how at the RSA conference how easy it is to repurpose nation-state malware as just a little guy hacker. He actually demonstrated that the problem is, you see, this nation-state stuff, and he was using NSA exploits, which were exfiltrated. The problem with these is that once they're out, anybody can weaponize them and use them for ransomware. We know that Eternal Blue, one of the NSA's exploits, was used for NotPetya and WannaCry. And so he talked a little bit about how easy it is to use these nation-state malware then to execute second-stage payloads. And I should point out that this was on Macs. So those of you saying, "Oh no, well at least I'm on a Macintosh, I'm safe." No, it can hit.
This is a really scary story, Leah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like someone getting a tank, like a weapon made by our government, and using it against people, or having the potential to do that. And I think it speaks to the fact that I think as a matter of policy, we don't need to be stockpiling 0 days. We need a very specific policy to make Microsoft, Apple, different operating system people aware of this so they can start patching it. And I think as a nation, we need to start developing a process to make sure our schools, our hospitals, our financial institutions are incentivized to update their software, because this is out there, and you see how easy it is from this story, and it's something where we have the coronavirus playbook here.
It does kind of raise the question of, as we see more and more nations pursuing backdoors in encryption, it points. It's not merely the use of malware. It's that these police authorities can't really be trusted to hold on to these things, that they escape. It's almost impossible not to have them escape.
Yeah.
If there's a back door, bad guys are going to get it eventually.
Yeah. And, I think some people I hear, I don't think the United States necessarily needs to say we're not going to be developing cyber weapons.
Well, that's the question. How do you not do that? Isn't that the new war is cyber warfare? It's not.
I think, I think it's an area of national security we need to look at very closely. I think a ban would be very counterproductive, but what I want to see is us emphasize the defensive aspects of it more, because it feels like we're thinking more about the offensive and how we're going to target other people and get their data. But because we've thought so little about the defensive aspects of that, as people like you and I, we're paying the price. So I just think there's a very serious discussion we need to have.
It's in a way a very similar discussion in nuclear proliferation, where
it's exactly the same.
We decided, we can't not have nuclear weapons, and I think you could probably make the case that the doctrine of mutually assured destruction is what kept us from getting in a nuclear war in the 50s and 60s, because the Soviet Union knew that to launch an attack in the United States was to, in effect, commit suicide. But that does not justify the proliferation of nuclear weapons. If they exist, eventually they become more dangerous. And so you have to balance the two, and it's very difficult.
Yeah.
I really don't know. That's the risk of cyber warfare, is escalation could be devastating to both sides. Not in the same way a nuclear war would be, but still.
But look at Stuxnet, right? Like we had these nuclear reactors, and someone could have gone in and, bombed it, or sent a special forces team in there, and people would have gotten killed. Instead, someone developed a cyber weapon. You shut that down remotely, and I think it worked, and I don't want to take options like that off the table. I think that we've really got to have a process that people stick to for updating their software. And I feel very, very strongly that stockpiling 0 days is a reckless thing for any security agency to be doing. Because yes, maybe you can use it on other countries, but you're also leaving the American people unsafe. So I think that we need to really change our policies on that. Sorry.
So cheerful. I could bring up Crypto AG, which was the supposedly Swiss company creating cryptography tools. Turned out it was owned by the CIA and the German Secret Service.
Just all good news this week.
Whoops. Made millions of dollars selling equipment to more than 120 countries, all of which, by the way, was compromised by the CIA and the was it the BND, the GRD? I can't remember the German secrets intelligence. And I can't find the story, but somebody was really pissed off and about to sue because they bought all these gear, and it turned out the CIA was listening in. The BND, thank you. Great.
It's a good audit argument for code auditing and open source right there. Oh
yeah.
My gosh.
I've said this for years, but now it's true. Never use a crypto tool that isn't open source.
Yes, I agree.
Especially if it's from the CIA. So Apple has been criticized for using push notifications to promote their own products. We did a story a couple of weeks ago about how Apple was advertising their own products, in fact, being essentially an annoying ad platform on the iPhone.
Yeah, that's getting really bad.
It really is, isn't it? You can't use Apple Music without being, told you need to buy this.
Right.
Well, apparently...
It's about to get a lot worse.
It's about to get a lot worse. Apple had developer guidelines that said you cannot send ads via push notifications, right? We can do it, but you can't. Developers were doing it, but now it's okay. Apple updated its developer guidelines this week and saying as long as users opt in, it's okay.
Here's what I'll say about this. Since 2016, at least, I've had my phone on Do Not Disturb mode. Silences all push
all the time.
All the time. Haven't taken it off. 4 years. Would highly recommend it.
I did that because of you, Paris.
If anybody needs to get in contact with you right now, they can call you. You can have it so that calls will go through, or certain apps will go through.
Or you could say just my starred favorites will go through, and then I don't have to hear from anybody.
That's fine. Yeah. Other than that, you can get a notification when you open your phone to look at it. It will be there waiting for you.
Isn't that awesome? I think it was you that I think you said that you were doing this. Maybe did you write an article about it?
I think I did, yeah.
Yeah. And I said, that's brilliant. Just leave it on all the time.
Yeah. Leave it on. Never turn it off. Your life will change.
I owe you. Brilliant thought. And you can say if it's person, and in fact, this is what I do. If the person is in my contacts, they can ring through. So that way I don't get any robocalls. Unfortunately, I don't get calls from my doctor, but I don't really want to hear from him anyway.
You can just call them back.
Yeah, and that's what I figure. If it's important, you'd leave a message. Mm-hmm. Leo, the test results are in. Maybe you should call me. You've been drinking.
Then you can just read that on your voicemail because it's automatically written in text, and then give them a call back.
Yeah. Just a little ice. It looks like you've been drinking a lot of Soylent lately.
It's very chunky.
Perhaps expired.
Have you been drinking expired Soylent, Leo? Because your blood chemistry is a little strange. Yeah, I think the idea of ads, it's bad enough, but ads and push notifications is going to be very annoying. I guess they have to ask your permission. But
at the moment, I mean, that's how they're going to bring it in, right? At first, they have to ask your permission, and then it's going to reverse where you have to opt out, and then eventually you'll just be stuck with it.
Why would Apple do that?
Money. Apple's a
Why does anybody put ads anywhere? Money.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, money. Let's do an ad. Speaking of money. Speaking of money, we got a little ad. We have a promo, right? Oh, never mind. I don't have to do an ad, but I'll do one anyway. Our show today brought to you by FreshBooks. This is actually an ad for something I used for many years. I was a freelancer going up to Canada, doing the TV show up there, but I hated invoicing. Who doesn't, right? You know when you get bills, end of the month, you got to pay them. I hate that. Well, it turns out making the bills is just as much of a pain. I found FreshBooks. My life changed. It makes it easy to create invoices and put the expenses in there. There's a great FreshBooks app. You could take a picture of receipts. They're automatically added to the invoice. And here's the amazing thing. When you do your invoices and your expenses through FreshBooks, it turns out you're doing bookkeeping without even thinking about it. Now, tax time's coming up, but if you're a FreshBooks user, you're feeling pretty sharp, pretty smart. All your numbers are in one place. They've got tax-friendly categories. Everything has a place. You can instantly create reports that you can use, or your bookkeeper or your accountant can use to file your taxes. It's amazing. You could track business expenses. You can even connect your bank account or credit card to FreshBooks. It'll automatically update with your recent spending. You don't even have to enter anything. Snap a picture of a receipt, log it, either add it to the invoice or not, but FreshBooks will keep things organized for you in the cloud. You can keep your project spending on track. Yes, projects are in FreshBooks. You can bill your client for expenses, mark those business expenses as billable or not billable, add a markup if you want, automatically put them in the invoice. It makes tax time simple. FreshBooks is awesome. It's easy. It's, I dare say, fun, and it integrates with everything you use already. So it's just going to make your life a lot easier. Look, spend less time doing books, more time doing what you started that business for. And when tax time comes around, you can smile. Use FreshBooks to save time and get everything organized. You'll be so happy on April 15th. Your accountant will thank you too. FreshBooks.com/twit. If you put This Week in Tech in the How Did You Hear About Us section, you'll get 30 days free. FreshBooks.com/twit. And we love you, FreshBooks. We thank you for your continued support for many years of this show. But you, a listener, can support us too by using that special URL, FreshBooks.com/twit. Oh, by the way, for a limited time, FreshBooks is offering 50% off for your first 3 months when you sign up for a paid plan. This is for new customers only. You can't combine offers, but this is a great deal. First 3 months, 50% off. FreshBooks.com/twit. Thank you, FreshBooks. Apparently, one of the complaints I've had for a long time, and I'm not alone, a lot of people complain about the fact that YouTube's recommendation engine just pushes you to extremism. Well, there's been some research that indicates maybe YouTube is getting better. A study published by the University of California last month says that a 40% reduction in the likelihood of YouTube suggesting conspiracy theory content. Okay, maybe they're not helping you not be a terrorist, but at least you're not thinking the world is flat when you do it. They analyzed 8 million recommended videos over the course of a year, hundreds of conspiracy and non-conspiracy videos so they could determine which was which, and then they ran those programs. It turned out that watching the videos wasn't that useful. The transcripts, the metadata, and the comments, the top 200 comments of each video really helped you determine whether this video is a little nutty. You can tell from the comments.
I mean, overall, I guess this is, of course, good news, but I think something that's important to keep in mind here is that the recommendation algorithm plays a very minor role in these sort of things, as much as people like to attribute all of radicalization through YouTube to something like the recommendation algorithm. A lot of research has come out in the past year that indicates that that's not really the case.
What is
and
it then? Why is YouTube a hotbed for extremism?
I spoke to some researchers in, what was it? October of last year, who had worked on this really interesting study that was kind of going over a lot of the different research that had been done on online extremism on YouTube, and they also did a lot of their own, and they found that it's not really the recommendation algorithm that is playing the largest role in this radicalizing rabbit hole, but it is the communities themselves that form around extremist content, and those communities that are pushing users farther and farther into the rabbit hole from interacting with others who believe in these kind of views, as well as, if you've ever the researcher Becca Lewis at Stanford has had some really interesting work on this subject. In particular, kind of her number one piece is called Alternative Influence, which is like a fantastic guide if anybody ever wants to read academic papers about this. But it kind of speaks to how the reason that these communities are getting worse and worse and people are increasingly radicalized by them is because they cross-populate. If you're watching a video from one kind of milder YouTube star in this sphere, he'll be a guest on somebody who's more extreme, or other people will be a guest on their show, and they kind of all connect in ways that are much more difficult to track and get a handle on and attribute this all to than just saying, it's the recommendation.
That's bad
algorithm.
news because
It's
it
bad
means
news.
YouTube can't fix it.
Yeah, no, it's bad news because the problem is systemic and is much, much harder to fix, and it's never going to be as easy as saying, well, why doesn't YouTube fix the recommendation
But I'd
algorithm?
really rather blame YouTube.
Yeah, I know. Wouldn't that be a lot easier? I mean, YouTube certainly still has a lot of role and blame to play here.
Yeah.
I'm never going to be an apologist for tech platforms, but the issue is a lot bigger. than we think.
Radicalization, it turns out, happens the old-fashioned way. People radicalizing one another.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I just want to say, anecdote is not data, right? But my experience with this is, I watch a lot of videos on gamer culture, on car repair, on those kinds of subjects, things that are kind of tangential to, some like gamer culture has a bit of an extremism problem. And I certainly in the past have been watching the YouTube algorithm, and it's recommended somebody to me that's just not someone I want to be listening to at all. And I've certainly seen that decrease over the last few years. And, Paris, I agree with you, but I think the worry with this is you have people that are maybe watching, say, like a video from IGN or something like that, and suddenly find themselves watching, one of these far fringe right people that talk about gamer culture. And I do think that shows up in the recommendation algorithm.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does. And I've seen that anecdotally myself. But I think just something that is interesting to think about is that, I mean, there have been no studies that specifically say or have ever been able to prove that the recommendation algorithm is the key thing that is radicalizing people here. And of course, it has certainly played a large role in introducing people to new content. But there are so many different factors and forces behind the radicalization rabbit hole that people fall into on YouTube. And it is a much bigger and more complicated and difficult to handle problem than just the recommendation algorithm, which means that our response and any possible solutions are going to have to attack it from 70 sides rather than one.
Well, one thing YouTube has done, and we knew it would do this, we just didn't understand the consequences, is democratize speech. Used to be there were gatekeepers, and you couldn't get a radio show or a TV show unless you got past the gatekeepers or a New York Times article. YouTube made it possible for anybody to make videos, and many of these people have found an audience and have a voice that they might not have had if YouTube didn't exist.
And they're able to make money from it.
It can even get monetized.
Thing is that, I mean, so that's one thing that these researchers at Penn State had found in a study that I covered in October, which I thought was really interesting, is that what they see as one of the primary reasons why a lot of far-right radicalization has happened due to YouTube is because the platform has allowed for a massive increase in supply, specifically of these sort of alternative influencing media figures in this specific area, because previously, like you said, media used to just be the domain of people who had access to a fancy studio and a bunch of screens for other people to sit around them and talk
more
to and record a podcast.
Corporate America got to say who got to speak and who didn't, and they made damn sure no crazies got, or they tried anyway, to make damn sure.
And
no
now
crazies.
Anybody who has a phone or a computer, they can make YouTube
Which
videos.
isn't
The buried
inherently
entry is
bad. I think
But
free
it just
speech
means that you're
is
going.
good.
It's great. I mean that we've all had this opportunity, but it means that you're going to have this giant outpouring of content, and people who want certain types of perhaps more extreme content have the pick of the bunch.
There is something interesting with YouTube that puzzles me a little bit, coming from mainstream traditional media. There is a affinity, there's a power that YouTube has that even transcends the intense power of television in general. Television can make stars by bringing somebody's face and personality into your living room, and it has made massive stars. But it seems to me YouTube can do that too, and maybe even more so. And you go all you have to do is go to VidCon, and by the way, it's not just YouTube anymore. It's TikTok, it's Instagram.
I mean, yeah, it's the
all
whole
of
thing
the
about
social
that we're
media.
talking about in
Is
regards to influencer culture.
Yeah,
It's
let me
that-
ask you though, isn't that something different than celebrity in, the mid-century?
Absolutely. I mean, and it's because the way that people generally, and we kind of think about other people's postings on social media and the way we kind of interact with it, it seems more authentic. It seems more intimate that you are watching somebody maybe from an early day when they were just like you, just had a couple hundred followers on YouTube, a couple hundred subscribers.
You can
tens of
still have
thousands,
the illusion that PewDiePie is talking directly to me. When you're watching, Jimmy Fallon on the network, there's no sense of, oh yeah, this is my guy as much as when you're watching.
Yeah, no, it's clearly professionalism. There's that wall, that corporate wall.
Right.
But on YouTube, you're seeing this person
genuine.
tweet. You follow along with their Snapchat videos.
I see it a little differently, though. I think it's more about hyper-segmentation. I mean, I remember when I first started watching and listening to your network, Leo, it was about a hyper-segmentation of the tech audience that corporate tech coverage was missing. And I think YouTube has really accelerated this hyper-segmentation. I love Nerf rival guns. I have all of them, and I get into battles with my husband constantly with them. There are channels out there that focus on Nerf rival content. There are channels out there that go, hey, are you a feminist gamer that want news and coverage about classic games starring women characters? Hey, let's bring out this cool feminist woman that's going to have, and there's a whole lot of channels about there. So I think it's about hyper segmentation. And I think
and the world is such a big place.
Right.
That even if you're...
That's him. That's Coop. I love Coop. He's great.
Even if you're very...
1.2 million subscribers.
Even if you're very narrow, like this crazy Nerf... It's not even just Nerf guns in general. It's this very specific kind of Nerf. Yeah. You can have 1.25 million followers and have an outsized voice.
Yes. But some of those subgroups do lend themselves more towards these extremist views. And that's where I think it gets into the algorithm, because I've seen this in gamer culture, right? I love Japanese RPGs. That is a genre that doesn't always treat women super well. And some of the people covering that have comments and attitudes towards women. And then suddenly I find myself being offered these fringe channel personalities over here. And I could very easily see someone kind of falling into that rabbit hole. So I think it's less about the celebrity and more about the hyper segmentation and the culture that kind of blooms around that.
Yeah. Well, it's both. There is an intimacy. You know Coop, and you feel a relationship with Coop much more so than you would if he were on Channel 9, right? I mean,
definitely.
He's in your... There's something different about... By the way, this video, which came out 3 years ago, has 5.3 million views and is monetized very simply through an Amazon affiliate link to rival blasters. I bet you he's made a lot of money on this.
He's done very well.
Are there line? Was there a pre-roll ad for that video?
I'm on YouTube Red or whatever they call it, premium, so I don't see ads.
There probably is, though.
But there's probably an ad on it. But even more important to him probably is the Amazon affiliate link. Although I notice YouTube has just recently said, yeah, we're going to let these people work with advertisers in, products directly. I think they want to get a cut of it because they're not getting a cut right now, the Amazon affiliate link.
Well, I mean, YouTube a couple of years ago bought the main platform used by YouTubers to kind of do influencer partnerships, FameBit, which now you're kind of two main options if you're a YouTube influencer who wants to make money in one of these ways is to do pre and post roll ads to monetize your video, or you can partner with FameBit and whoever wants to can, like different companies can offer you products to partner with and sell on your site. And then YouTube gets a cut of whatever you make from that sale.
Yeah. Brianna, do you have a nemesis?
I do. I have two of them. My husband has one, and I have one. And I would tell you, it's a good gateway
secret
to learning
to a good marriage. Look at this gun.
Yes.
This is the secret to a good marriage. This thing.
Oh my God!
How many?
This is outdated at this point.
Oh yeah,
this is lottery.
It's like
only
lotto.
Fires about 3 rounds a second. The modern ones will fire about 10 rounds a second.
Is that ping pong balls?
What?
What are you shooting
there? Little foam balls.
Foam balls.
Yep.
This is not your
Could I
grandpa's
shoot
Nerf.
lotto balls
No,
out of there?
no.
It looks like a lotto ball.
Have you built
Yeah.
a Caliburn?
I have not. No.
My son built a Caliburn. I got
Oh
him a
my
kit for his
goodness.
birthday. So
Wow.
Does he shoot you with that?
yeah, it's quite painful.
They have a whole 3D printer culture that's sprung up out of Nerf guns. So you will like get additional hoppers to it and flywheels and lipo batteries. It's a fascinating subculture.
Is it a Nerf, this Caliburn?
Yes, it's a custom built Nerf. It's like it's basically like a railgun, a Nerf railgun.
Okay, now I want to get into this.
Oh my gosh.
Does it have to be pink?
No.
This poor guy has 83 subscribers and 489 views. What is he doing wrong? A little consultation here.
Okay, Leah, next time I come to your studio, I'm going to bring my Prometheus, I'm going to bring my Perseus, and we'll just have a whole battle in your studio. It'll be great.
Where do you get a Caliburn kit, Karsten?
Hold on, I'm trying to find it.
Say
Here we go.
Caliburn Kid Karsten 3 times fast.
Yeah, he'll appear. Watch out. He'll steal your... By the way, he will...
He'll steal your nerf.
I got mine from Captain Slug on Etsy. If you show my...
We do live in a very odd world where these little tiny niches can completely thrive
Where
because...
Captain Slug is having 10,979 sales.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Oh, Captain Slug is low tier. Like, you want to get high tier, you talk to Out of Darts. Like,
But I don't think it's a bad thing. I think this is a great
Yeah.
thing, right?
yeah. These are all people
good for
that have
Captain
3D
Slug.
printer factories in their home, and they
Instead
run them
of
24/7.
a handful of platinum artists,
Yep.
you have thousands of gold artists, right? Instead of, a small number of people getting filthy rich, you have a number...
Well, we still have that.
You still have... Hey, here, you know what? Here's some good news. The music industry revenues actually went up 13% last year to the highest they've been since 2006, $11 billion. And why? Music streaming. This is the thing that the music industry was decrying a few years ago. Oh, no, Spotify's going to kill our business. No, it's been very good. In fact, Senior Vice President of Research at the RIAA, Josh Friedlander, says the music industry today is healthier than it has been in more than a decade. Revenue from streaming services are more than offsetting decreases in physical sales and digital downloads. It's hard to overstate the impact streaming music has had on the music industry.
Well, I guess, there's also to consider that people are less likely to pirate music now that you can just stream it.
I've always said this. It's about point of access. They pirate because it was hard and expensive to get. But now you pay $5 a month or $10 a month and you have 60 million songs. You don't need to pirate. And guess what? Everybody wins. What's also interesting is that somebody like Lil Nas X, who doesn't have a contract, nobody ever heard of, can put something on SoundCloud, or Billie Eilish and suddenly become a huge star. So it's not all bad. It's not all good. It's interesting. It's just it's a different world. And I think sometimes people of my generation, I'll say it, we boomers, look at this brave new world and we don't get it. It's so strange. It's so different. It looks so threatening that what we do is we say, well, they're creating terrorists. And really, it's much more complex than that. There's positives, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I would say that I've discovered at least 25 new artists in the past 2 weeks, just from things that Madame A
good for music.
has recommended to me.
And then there's the Democratic Socialism Simulator. This is a game. Windows, Linux, Mac OS, and Android. No iOS, weirdly enough. The Democratic Socialism Simulator lets you play as the first socialist president of the United States. Can you redistribute power and wealth while addressing the climate crisis?
They've got to have an update for coronavirus.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Get the DLC,
that's DLC. Yeah, the coronavirus DLC.
Pay for that.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah.
I've thought so much. I want to do a game at one point called Woman Politician Simulator about all the
you should.
choices you have to make
You
every
should.
single
That'd be
day.
really good.
Please build this game.
Oh my
Don't
God.
smile. You should smile
Yeah.
more.
You gotta take this off the record. You can't
Yep.
talk about it. Someone's gonna steal your idea.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
brilliant.
Someone asks you about gender bias. Do you say anything? Do you not say anything? You're
It's
screwed
brilliant.
either
You
way.
can't win.
Yeah.
It's the game you can't win.
Well, it's about how long you can survive.
Oh, that's right. You will be booted out. A 70-year-old white man will take your place. But how long can you survive?
Yep.
And, who knew that Tulsi Gabbard would be the cockroach of the Democratic primary? You just stay under the radar, right?
It's a lot in the crawl space.
This is wild. Did you see this? $360,000 for the Nintendo PlayStation.
Yes.
It never came to market. Is that right? I don't know anything about this.
Okay,
Oh,
let me
my
explain,
gosh.
or let
Yeah.
Brianna explain this.
Yeah, Brianna
No,
probably knows
you can,
something about
I
it.
could tell you all about it.
Tell
but go
us
ahead.
all about it, Brianna.
Okay. So,
He stole my
was-
Soylent. You better talk.
there's an alternate history where the Sony PlayStation never came out and Nintendo dominated the optical drive space. So after the Super Nintendo era, Sony was working with a partnership with Nintendo to put out a new type of system based with optical media to get around the low storage space
Because
of that
maybe
era.
you young people
Right.
don't remember, but in the old days, we didn't have CDs or DVDs for
Right.
games. We had cartridges, and you'd
Right.
blow in it, and you'd put it in, and that was how you played on an NES with a cartridge.
Right. It was very memory limited, or very very
games were very primitive as a result.
very very expensive to produce. There are a lot of famous cartridge shortages because of that. So anyway, long story short, Nintendo ended up going with the N64 with the partnership with Silicon Graphics. And then Sony had this technology with the optical drive, ended up bringing in a whole marketing team just as Sega was imploding. Blake J. Harris did a great book about this called Console Wars.
Oh, I
So
love that
basically,
book. I love
it's
that book.
amazing. So
Yeah.
they swooped in. And this particular device it's like a relic of this lost history. Because if Nintendo had gone ahead, Sony would not be as dominant today as they are. A lot of people feel. Palmer Luckey, we're friends on Facebook. He was bidding like crazy on this, trying to get it. So I was rooting for him. But ended up this guy got it for $360. He's going to put it in a museum. A lot of people expected this to go for like $750,000. So this is actually low compared to
I
what
blame
most people
Palmer
expected.
Luckey for not having any guts. He could have bid it up. He's
There
got
it
the
is,
money.
If
sure
Nintendo
does.
had not gone forward with this, had gone forward with this design, there
Yep.
would be no PlayStation.
Yeah.
This is
It's-
why the
it's
PlayStation
interesting.
exists.
It's labeled Sony PlayStation.
Yep.
Nintendo
it was
PlayStation.
Well, see, there's a Sony label on it. It is the Nintendo PlayStation, but look, it says Sony. But this is a prototype. Maybe the production would not have been labeled that way. It was found inside a box of stuff once owned by former Sony Entertainment CEO Olaf Olafsson. The company that he was working at went bankrupt. The stuff was auctioned off. A guy named Terry Diebold acquired it in the auction. He's been taking it around to conventions for years. He finally decided to sell it at auction. This prototype has never before been offered. So it's historic, but it's not a product that ever was made. Nintendo PlayStation, $360,000. That's pretty wild, isn't it? Yeah. What year was that? Do we know?
96, 95.
Yeah. No, it's easy to say, the revisionist history, and I bet you there's already an Amazon pilot being made. But
With Nazis, probably.
with Nazis, certainly with
Somehow.
Nazis, because it's no good if there's no Nazis. Nazis are the new vampires, by the way. Did you know that? Yeah. But there's no guarantee. We've seen a lot of, this would have been the next big thing go by the wayside. I remember from that era, tons of Atari Lynx, the 3DO. Remember all these? There were a lot of great games. The 3DO was awesome.
Well, it didn't have the software to last.
It's a
long
pretty
term.
good game.
Yeah.
I loved playing it, but it never.
It was just too expensive.
Maybe that was it.
Yep. They're about to re-release the PC Engine, also known as the TurboGrafx 16. That's getting a Super Nintendo style mini cartridge that's coming out. I'm really excited about that because I could never afford one of those.
Yeah. You all survived daylight saving time. You showed up an hour early, but you were all here.
There were a lot of all caps emails sent out about this.
Yes,
were there?
were.
The time.
There were.
Thank you, Karsten.
I'm gonna rat on Karsten and let you know he sent, what was it, 3 all caps emails warning us about daylight savings
I think
time?
he'd had a little too much of that coffee Soylent earlier.
I can neither
It worked.
confirm nor deny.
But let me tell you something. This is bad. Spring daylight saving time transition acutely increases fatal traffic accidents each year on the Monday following by 6%. In other words, 28 lives could be prevented yearly if they abandoned daylight saving time.
Great.
Heart attacks go up. Lots of problems associated with daylight saving time. This is from Current Biology, was published a few days ago. A chronobiological evaluation of the acute effects of daylight saving time on traffic accident risk.
I feel very strongly we need to get rid of it. Marco Rubio was tweeting about this yesterday, saying he wants to get rid of it.
If you get elected, make that promise to me.
Absolutely. I swear it is the worst. I hate it, and it needs to go. So
You know how bad it is? I think if President Trump were able to reverse this, he might even get my vote.
Whoa.
Forget all the rest of it. He fixed daylight saving time. But the problem, I don't want to get rid of daylight saving time. I want to make that which would you make the standard? Daylight saving or
Daylight
standard?
savings time should be the standard.
This should be the standard. What we are right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if there was just one universal time, like GMT?
I'm into
So-
that. I hate time zones. They ruin my life daily. Most of my office works in San Francisco, so I'm constantly calculating what time it is here versus there, and then I'll be calling someone because my whole job is just
She's
to
right.
call people, and I'm like, God, what time is it? Half of my day is spent Googling what time is it in city name here. I hate it. Get rid of
Right,
time zones.
I would just get used to waking up at 10 or 3 or whatever time we as a world agreed to, and it would just be in New York. You wake up at 3, and
That's kind of radical.
I'm into it.
It's an interesting idea. People
Time
would
zones
say,
were
I
only
am
created
not
to-
going to get up
by
at
the train
200.
industrial complex.
Yeah. I don't know.
I guess we could just start using GMT and go from there.
I'm gonna do it.
Just start using GMT.
I'm going to use universal coordinated time from now on. It is 2300 UTC. Bong. I think that's a good idea. I'm going to start it right now. There should be a setting on every digital watch. You could just say, I'm just going to use UTC. That probably is. I want to make that's a good idea. Let me see on my iPhone if I can make it UTC. Just change my...
Leo is how many hours late for every subsequent...
It's not my fault. I'm
Sorry.
on UTC. It's not my fault. I'm doing the right thing. I'm changing the world. Where would I change that? In general, probably, right? Date and time. Time zone. There it is. My time zone is now UTC. Yeah. There you go. It's 11:33 p.m. No. I don't. I want 24-hour time. At least, we're going to do that. It's 23:33.
So that's GMT, right? That's the same as
GMT. We don't say GMT anymore, Seth.
Right. Sorry.
Greenwich Mean Time. That's very English-centric, Anglo-centric.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
By the way, universal UTC is an abbreviation for nothing. There's no language in the world that it would actually be UTC. No. It's not French. It's not look it up on
universal time code?
No. Look it up on Wikipedia. They explain the whole thing. It's actually made up. It's a made-up abbreviation because nobody could agree. It stands for Coordinated Universal Time, but nobody could agree on what the abbreviation would be.
So it's universal time coordinated?
Yeah, but that's no language in the The French, okay. The official abbreviation of UTC and the official English name of Coordinated Universal Time, CUT, along with the French equivalent, were not adopted until 1967. But it's not an abbreviation. There's no language where UTC is actually the abbreviation. The official abbreviation for Coordinated Universal Time is UTC. The abbreviation rose from a desire by the ITU and the International Astronomical Union to use the same abbreviation in all languages. English speakers proposed CUT. French speakers proposed TUC, for Temps Universel Coordonné. The compromise that emerged was UTUC, which is not
something that is good for
good for nobody. That's compromise in a nutshell. If nobody's happy, it's a good compromise.
And I guess that's a good, segue into like one time for everybody. Like it's going to be crappy for a lot of people for a little bit,
Right.
but overall it's great.
It's basically the Esperanto of times.
Exactly.
A language no one speaks, no one likes, but at least it's universal.
Right.
I'm into it.
I like it. I just
Give
set
me
my
that bill,
watch.
I'll sign.
Everything I have is now UTC. We'll see how that works out. I don't think my wife's going to like it when I set all the clocks to UTC. Yeah, set that, John. Every clock now is going to be set to UTC. It's all because of you, Seth Weintraub. I blame you.
All right.
Our show today brought to you by Wasabi, not the green stuff on your sushi, no. But it is hot. It's hot cloud storage, WASABI, the perfect solution for anybody who's moving to the cloud. If you're a managed service provider, you're going to love this because you can earn more while charging less. Yes, Wasabi's 80% less expensive than Amazon S3. And it's a lot cheaper than on-prem storage. In fact, typically you can store data in Wasabi's cloud for less than just the annual cost of the maintenance fees on on-prem storage, let alone the storage itself. Wasabi's disruptive price performance model makes buying cloud storage a natural addition. I talk to more and more people all the time who are using Wasabi for a lot of reasons. It's not just less expensive, it's better. 11 nines of durability. They have active integrity checking. Every object stored in your Wasabi cloud is checked for integrity every 90 days. And because Wasabi uses multiple Tier 4 data centers that are highly secure and fully redundant, if one bit goes south during that integrity check and they pull a good version of the file from another one of the data centers, you never lose one single bit. Access control mechanisms like bucket policies and ACLs can be used to protect your data from employees. And here's another nice feature that will protect your data from ransomware. You can designate your data immutable. It cannot be erased. It cannot be altered. It cannot be hacked. And no fumble finger employee can delete it. HIPAA compliant, FINRA compliant, CJIS compliant. I should really start with all the good stuff. This is the best cloud storage. And then I should mention, and by the way, 1/5 the cost of Amazon S3. And no fees for egress. That saves you money. It's the same API as Amazon's S3, so you already know how to use it. But they don't charge for API requests. No complex storage tiers. In every way, this is superior to any other cloud you've ever seen. But of course, it's an uphill battle because everybody says, well, I just use AWS. No, you need to check out Wasabi. Calculate the savings for yourself. You can do it right now. In fact, a free unlimited trial for you at wasabi.com. Use the offer code TWIT. Unlimited storage. You just bang on that thing. Free trial, 1 month, unlimited. Use the offer code TWIT. Wasabi is amazing. And I have to say, I'm a little biased because it was started by one of my good friends, David Friend. And he's just done an amazing job with this. This is such a great product. More and more people are discovering Wasabi, shouldn't you? Wasabi.com. Use the offer code TWIT so they know you heard it here. It's now I don't know.
Midnight.
Yeah, it's 23:38. That means it's almost midnight, I think. If I do it that way, then that way I won't just look at it and go, oh, it's midnight. I'll know it's 23:08 UTC. Brilliant. Brilliant. SETI at home is over. What?
Now you can protein fold at home.
Yeah, I tried that. My fans never turned off, so I decided not to do that. I thought, well, yeah, I'm going to help search for the cure to the coronavirus, but the fans never turned off. This is something that started back in the 90s, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, SETI at home. The idea was there are lots of people with computers. You could put a screensaver or a background program on your computer, and it'll just steal a few cycles, and it'll look through the vast amounts of data collected by radio telescopes looking for intelligence, signals in there. On Tuesday, researchers at the Berkeley SETI Research Center announced that's it. It's over. They're going to stop distributing SETI at home at the end of the month. Did they find anything? No. So far, the researchers at Berkeley have only been able to analyze small portions of the SETI at home data because they had too much. Stop already. So it was a great success, I guess.
I use that on all my computers for years.
I did too.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Arecibo radio telescope in Puerto Rico collects terabytes of data all the time. At its launch, within months of launch, according to Wired, more than 2.6 million people in 226 countries were volunteering their computers. 25 trillion calculations a second, more powerful than the best supercomputer in the world at the time. So do you do folding at home, Seth?
No, I did Bitcoin at home for a little bit, but
did you make any money?
No, I mean, you can make a couple pennies, but you need to really get the rigs going if you want to do that seriously. And it's an energy waster, so not my cup of tea.
Where did I just saw? I think it was in the U.S. A New York. I guess it's a New York power plant, Upper New York State, New York. Mm-hmm. They put the Bitcoin miners behind the paywall because they're generating their own electricity. So basically, there's no charge. And they say they average 5.5 Bitcoins every day. That's about 50 grand at current prices. 7,000 miners powered. It's on site, behind the meter, as they say.
So as a New Yorker, this is upsetting to me for a couple of reasons. One, this is a peaker plant, so it's not terribly efficient. It exists because of peak usage in the summer months when air conditioning comes on. So it only turns on theoretically when those months happen.
Now it's running all the time.
Now it's running all the time, spewing carbon into the air.
It's running on natural gas, so it's using up fossil fuels.
Yeah, it's a horrible thing, and Cuomo, our governor, has been talking about zero
emissions.
What is it? Zero emissions, and to have this like inside his state is kind of a joke. So I'm pretty upset about that, and I've actually asked for Electrek. I've asked them for comment on it, but it's the weekend, so we won't hear about it until tomorrow.
Seth, I think I remember reading that there's so much power consumed by Bitcoin mining, it offsets every single solar installation we've put in globally.
That wouldn't surprise me. It's quite frustrating knowing that.
Pointlessly. We don't need...
Well, yeah, I agree. It would be nice if if you could somehow game solar, like instead of buying a electric using rig, you buy a solar panel and a inverter and get money by putting energy into the grid. Like that seems like, maybe that's what I should be doing right now instead of, it's like, why not just make real value instead of just sucking value out and then having this game that everybody's playing and
I wonder how much power was wasted by SETI at home, running for 20 years trying to find life in the universe, right?
Not insignificant.
Non-trivial amount.
Absolutely.
I had every computer in my house running that all of the time. I did. I do have to say there's a huge contingent. MIT is here in Massachusetts. We had a huge Bitcoin convention there just this weekend, and I don't know. Not all cryptocurrency is as energy consumptive as Bitcoin itself is, and I do sometimes get frustrated with some of the stereotypes that get thrown around with people that are into cryptocurrency because there are so many legitimate uses of blockchain. But, this is obviously the case you're talking about, Seth. It's indefensible.
So turns out the coronavirus, the way it gets into you. Yeah, let's get back to the coronavirus. It's much more fun. It has a little spike on the protein, right? Which comes up to the cell, jams it into the cell, and takes over the cell. So scientists are trying to design a protein that could bind to the coronavirus's spike, basically blunting it so that it can't interact with human cells. No infection. Would you like to help? This is a site, Fold It, Solve Puzzles for Science. This isn't folding at home. This is an actual game that you could try. It's a puzzle 1805B that you could try to design your little... Well, at least you're having fun while you're doing it.
I have to say, I'm married to someone that works in this field, and the delivery mechanism of how drugs and infections, viruses transmit, that's a huge part of it. It's not enough to just generate a cure. You've got to figure out how you're going to deliver it. The basic science of this, I would guess, is solid, but as far as getting to a human application from it, this would be a very small piece of the puzzle.
But wouldn't it be cool if somebody finds it and then they can start making it, right?
Well, but how would you deliver it to mass people? How would you know it's not targeting a wider number of proteins?
Okay. There's other things you have to solve, but at least you could do this, right?
How do you know it's not toxic? I mean...
That's true. It could kill you.
Yeah.
But it is available for free on Windows, Mac, and Linux. I just want to say. All right, let's wrap this puppy up. You guys are great. You survived the coronavirus show. Next week,
we can check in 2 weeks, and we'll let you know.
There'll probably be another one. Yeah, right. You're all infected now. No, it's so great to have you on. Paris, I just adore you. Thank you. I can't wait to see some of your ceramics and your neon. What's the neon sign?
Check out my Twitter. I posted a photo of the neon sign.
What's it say?
In my room. It's an abstract thing because it was the first neon sign I've ever done. And it's very difficult to bend glass in a way that forms words. So we just did abstract ones for the beginning.
Where is it on your...
it's...
there it is. Oh, neat.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
See a photo of me blowing the glass?
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So nice. Now, and then you seal both... how do you get the gas in it?
So we started with large tubes, which you have kind of like a phosphorus coating inside of in order to produce the violet color, and then kind of put it over this large wall of flame to bend it. And then what you see me doing in the left on that photo is attaching, it's called like a tubulator or something, and a different type of cap, which you kind of have to put the metal together or the glass together, melt it together on those ends. And then the people at the neon sign and glasswork studio we were at put the mercury and different gas in using this kind of large machine they had. And then we hooked up the electronics to it and whatnot. And there you go. That's a photo of me literally installing
cool.
That's awesome.
Oh my God, you rock. That is great. You are so crafty.
Trying to do anything that will force me to not look at the internet for an hour.
Yeah, no kidding. I like the backward baseball cap too. That's a good look.
Apparently, I started off with it faced forward, but you can't have baseball caps on like that when you're around flames, or else they'll point the heat to your eyes.
Yeah. I noticed you also tucked in your shirt. Just you don't want that to catch on fire either.
Truly, I mean, this is the only photo I posted from there because the other photos of me actually bending the glass, I was like, I was in a very protective, crouched over stance because I was very afraid that I was going to set myself on fire.
Feels like you should be wearing protective eyewear as well. I just want to say.
Yeah, I mean, apparently my glasses cut it. I still also felt like I should be wearing protective eyewear.
Isn't neon like very toxic?
Oh,
or am I
so
wrong
is
about
mercury.
that?
Well, I mean,
Who
it has
cares?
like, it has
People
2
really.
drops of like a
It's inert.
couple
The
of
neon's inert, but the
of mercury
ain't.
in it.
Yeah.
But it's essentially the equivalent of like 5 thermometers worth. So it's not gonna ruin your life if it breaks. You just
Wait
need
a
to clean
minute.
it up.
That sounds like a lot. All I can.
I mean, it's not a insignificant
drink it.
amount, but it's not. Yeah, don't drink the neon sign. But if it breaks, you're not gonna die.
Mercury is only dangerous if you inhale it.
I remember when I was a kid going to the dentist. This is how old I am. And they still used mercury in fillings. And the dentist was playing with it, saying, look, isn't this cool? Look, here's a little mercury. Cool.
And you're alive.
I'm still alive.
Sensibly.
In fact, maybe that's why I didn't get coronavirus. Maybe I'm protected. now
Mercury.
Don't look that
this
up,
show is
kids.
going to get banned on YouTube. Do not use mercury to save yourself. Seth, it's great to have you. Electric.com and 9 to 5 Google and 9 to 5 Mac. He's the publisher, Seth Weintraub. His attic is getting dark. So
yes,
I think
I didn't plan for this.
It's a cave in there.
Honestly,
I
you
know.
look like a serial killer. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, I'll pull into the light a little bit more.
Either that or a YouTube star. One or the other. Thank you, Seth.
There you go.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
And Brianna Wu, I know your day is not yet over. You still have interviews to do.
I do. I have a meeting with a group that's endorsing me that I can't announce yet, but
Once
I'm
they
about to
do,
go
we'll
have a
know.
meeting with them. Yes, you will.
What can we
just
do to
before
help
I
you?
announce, can
Yes.
I tell you? So this is the time of year I've been calling all of our donors to thank them, and I swear to God, I've called at least 10 people this last week. I'm like, what are we doing that you like so we can do more of it? And they're like, I saw you on Twit. We love your work on Twit. We want to see you in Congress. So thank you for inviting me on, Leo. I always meet so many great people.
And sometimes people say, oh, it's just, you're just promoting her for Congress. No, we have Brianna on because she's smart and she's articulate. She's a great contributor to the panel. The fact that she's running for Congress has nothing to do with it, but I'll tell you what, if I were in Massachusetts 8th, I know where my vote would go.
Thank you.
Yeah. And, of course, Brianna Wu for Congress is the website, and we thank you so much. Good luck. September, huh? So you get a
It's
long
on September
summer.
1st. Yep, and people want to support me, they can do that by going to supportbrianna.com.
Awesome, Brianna. Really appreciate it. We do Twit every Sunday about 21:30 UTC. Wait a minute, is that wrong? Is it 22:30 UTC? Oh, crap. 22:15 UTC, which is about 2:15 Pacific, 5:15 Eastern, but I like 22:15 UTC. And if you would like to watch us do it live, you can go to twit.tv/live. As I mentioned, I'm sad to say we are not currently accepting requests to join us in studio. We're trying to keep our staff safe and exposure down. So I apologize if you're coming to Northern California and you had planned to see us. I apologize. I sincerely. But as soon as this thing blows over, we'll be glad to reopen. Meanwhile, at least we have the live stream, twit.tv/live audio and video. You can also get on-demand versions of everything we do at our website, twit.tv. Best thing to do, honestly, is subscribe. Whatever your preferred platform is, subscribe. Pocket Cast, Stitcher, Slacker, podcasts from Google or Apple, YouTube, whatever it is, subscribe. That way you'll get the show the minute it's available on a Sunday night, just in time for your Monday morning commute. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Please wash your hands, stay safe, social distancing. That means listen to more podcasts. We'll see you next time. Another Twit.
This is amazing.